Mic check, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? It's gonna be one of those today, man. First and foremost, salute to Crusader Nation in the building. Always, man. Salute to the Patreon in the building. Salute to the Mars, the Sousa, Anime, I see you. Truth and Purpose, I see you. What up, G? Salute to everybody, man. How everybody feeling on stage? Everybody looking good?
What's good? What's good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's happening? What's happening?
Yeah, let us see it, man. We should have a decent one tonight, man. It's gonna be a hell of a conversation. I'm gonna talk about creating space. Creating space. Just to give a little context, man. You know, it's a lot of women out there, you know, that's go-getters in terms of they career and their finances and a lot of independence and things of that nature. And a lot of them struggle to kind of create space for a real one when they run into them. So we're gonna unpack why that is. We're gonna give out some tips as to, you know, how you could do a better job of it. All of those things, man. So again, I appreciate everybody for tapping in with us. There's gonna be one of those. Boys showing love already. OG in the building with the 20 bar. Showing love to the gang. We appreciate you, bro. Yeah. So as we always do, first and foremost, got to introduce this amazing panel. There's some brand new faces up here. You know what I'm saying? But super solid arguments. Y'all know I wouldn't have them up here if they wasn't amazing. So without further ado, y'all know Ricky Williams is in the building with us again. Miss SB is in the building with us. D, Queen Sheba is in the building with us. OT himself, Ricky Romance, in the building with us. Miss Taken is in the building with us. My dog Nigel is back again in the building. D, Samantha Lee is in the building with us. Miss Kayla.com is in the building with us. And last but not least, my dog Ronan is in the building with us. The resident anti-hero. Rona, you want to give a little backstory as to what name?
Being a resident anti-hero, it means you being a solid dude. But when you be an asshole with principles, you understand you can't save everybody, and you gotta drink a fifth of fuck it every day.
Beautifully stated, man. Beautifully stated. I'm in agreement.
Solid wisdom.
Straight up. First and foremost, man, housekeeping out of the way. All merch is available at crewseason.com. The hats y'all see, the sweaters y'all see, the t-shirts, the sweatshirts, the sweatpants, all of that is available. Crewseason.com. I want to salute to the gang for cracking 200K on YouTube. That right there is a big deal. 500,000 on TikTok. All that, man. Appreciate it, man. We getting to a very, very influential space. And you know, Crusader Nation is heavily responsible with that. So man, I want to say on behalf of the gang, we appreciate y'all. But without further ado, man, let's tap in. Make sure y'all hit that like button if y'all haven't. It's gonna be a hell of a conversation. Y'all already know how we give it up, man. So without further ado, let's dive right in here with the first question of the night. Since we're discussing creating space, and a lot of times this is tied to career women, I want to ask a question that we asked on the pod recently. Me and O got into a bit of a kerfuffle, as my boy would say. He got into a bit of a kerfuffle on the podcast.
I'm using that. We'll keep
But we was talking about, you know, whether or not a woman should prioritize her career over finding a man. Now, a bit of context. Let's say that you have an 18-year-old girl. Oh, well, my girl for real. She is at 18 still. 18-year-old girl. And, you know, she's getting ready to go off to school. So the question I'm asking y'all is, what should be her priority? Should it be looking for a man, or should it be solidifying her livelihood in terms of getting her degree and her career and her income and things of that nature? So when y'all hear that question, I want y'all to give me the first thing that comes to mind. And since Sam is new to the stage, we going right to her first.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind if I was to talk to a young woman at 18, I'd be like focused on, I wouldn't say close yourself off to dating, but I would say you should be looking into getting into a school, getting a skill of some sort, That's what I would tell a young woman, just to get some education, go somewhere, go to school. That's what I would tell them.
Okay. And then you want to give a bit of context as to why?
I think that that's a lot of how I was raised. A lot of how I was raised, my mother really focused a lot on education. And so I went to school right at 18. But I also think of me as an 18-year-old girl. Okay. I didn't know a lot. I was extremely immature. I was extremely insecure. I wouldn't say that I was really became understanding who I am as a woman and other aspects of myself until once I graduated from college, which was like 22 or 23. But in the beginning, I was no good to anybody at 18 years old. Let's just be clear. Because I was so immature emotionally. I hadn't had any significant relationships by that point. And so, yeah, I that's why I would say that.
Okay, I respect it. Nigel, if you was advising your baby sister, 18 years old, what would you advise her to do? Should she start looking for a man, or should she be focused on her career at that point?
I think it's a little bit of both, though. If I'm a parent and I'm paying, definitely finish. But I mean, in the back of your mind, you need to give yourself a chance. I think that's what it's more about. With parents, like giving their son or daughters a chance to be around more people than what she's probably used to being around. That gives her an opportunity to meet somebody special, somebody that that might be above her level or on her level. But I definitely would say finish, but still have that mindset of trying to build out of this. I don't necessarily think it's important to find it like necessarily when you're in college, but that's your best chance, honestly. If you don't find if you go to college and you graduate and you don't find nobody by then, it's going to be a little bit. I mean, I probably want to tell them that, but that's what I be saying in the back of my mind. Like, definitely try to take advantage of that opportunity, though.
I like it. Mistaken. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I would definitely say focus on school and career first, just because you wouldn't be good to anybody when you haven't kind of start developing an idea of who you are. And so I think having the career, I think they should I'm gonna be honest. I think you should graduate before you even get married, so you can, because a lot of times, especially for women, the focus becomes the relationship as opposed to what your overall goal was, which was to go to school. So, I mean, you could date, but I would say hold off. Make sure you get your degree. Do not get pregnant. And then after you graduate, then I think it's cool that both of you guys work on your career. Build together. Mm-hmm.
Like it. OT, fix your face, man. I need to hear it. Do you want to reiterate what you had to say on Tuesday?
Hey, man. I mean, I say I don't see what's wrong with doing both. Putting school, of course, as the utmost importance. I just think that with me sharing the knowledge that I do have, it's don't live how we used to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we see now is people waiting way longer to get married when you had opportunities at a younger age to date somebody and have a real relationship with them before people have really been hurt and been through life and, all these other things, kids and whatever. So my opinion would be to focus on school. However, if you do meet someone throughout their process, like if y'all click and connect and, everything is going good, why not keep that person around? You know what I'm saying? Because it's not often that you're going to find a good person in your life like that. So, I mean, I got a cousin and her boyfriend, they're engaged now. Both of them went through school together, both finished doctors now, you know what I'm saying? Like literally just finished. So I think if we continue doing more like that and make it a norm instead of an anomaly, you know, I think as a whole we'll be in a better place. But that's what I would suggest.
All right, it's Queen.
Oh my God, y'all ready? So I think if I keep it, the question, Trail, don't even start it. So she's headed to school, not to the altar. And I think you have to keep the main thing the main thing. The question is, if she's headed to school, what should her focus be? Where she's headed, which is to school, right? And I've actually been to college, so have quite a few people on this panel, and you have to qualify to stay there. And a boy does not qualify you to stay there. But at the end of the day, the loans that you have taken out and your parents have taken out are still due, whether you choose to continue or not. That's the first thing. And if you understand the dynamics of college and Black men that are on campus, they are there for an agenda. And that is for sports about 95% of the time. So they have an agenda. Their agenda is to, what is it called? Secure the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Their job is to secure the bag. Okay. Your job as a woman is to secure the education so that when he becomes hurt and injured, because if you understand sports, a football contract is not guaranteed. And when we talk about head injuries, I know a lot of NFL players, right, that get tapped out. And even after they tapped out, they have injuries and they have all of these things that go on. And their wives, who have been taught to focus on the man, cannot contribute or have not been conditioned to contribute to the household. So when he fails and when he's not able to bring in the income, there we have it. So when I'm talking about, or when I'm thinking about an 18-year-old girl, I would not be positioning her to receive a man. I would be positioning her to receive education so that she's able to contribute to her family. So when we think about spiritual context, when Boaz found Ruth, she was working. She wasn't looking for him. She was working in the fields. You see what I'm saying? She was busy about her purpose. And if education is your purpose and your parents have been favored enough to send you to school, or your talents and or your gifts have been enough to get you there, then you need to finish that. You need to complete that. And if by chance you happen to meet a nice boy from a nice family, right, by way of your sophomore, junior, senior year, and that's a healthy relationship that's conducive to legacy, absolutely. As long as your grades are up to par and his grades are up to par and it's not a distraction. That's all I have.
All right, the fireworks have started. Nah, appreciate it, Queen. SB, it's on you, man. What's your thoughts on this? What should that young lady be prioritizing?
Ask the question again completely. Can you?
Should a woman prioritize looking for a man over pursuing her career and sustaining her livelihood?
I would definitely have to sit her down and have a conversation and figure out where she sees herself in 5 years. If she says she sees herself being married in 5 years, I would keep her at home. Tell her to stay at home, get a good job at the bank, even go to McDonald's University or something like that. I would not force college, a liberal college, on any young girl that wants to be married. Wouldn't do it. It doesn't benefit them. I wouldn't want her to be spoiled to the things of the world if she really indeed wants a good husband. So I guess I would do both, because a person can definitely make it. A single woman at 18, 19, 20, however old, can make it staying at home with her mom and dad or whomever. Even as a single woman, moving up in the ranks with a good job. Bank of America, like I said, McDonald's University or whatever, if she sees herself being a wife. I'm not so big on these college things. She could get a trade. She could become a real estate agent. She could do so many other things besides going to college and exposing herself to the world and all those things that it has to offer. I would prefer to try to protect her.
Okay, so let's zero in a bit more. So since you're saying that you would be okay with her pursuing that, so which one should she prioritize? If you had to give her advice on what she should be doing,
it would all depends on what she told me, where she saw herself in 5 years. Is how she answered the question. But my advice to her would be stay at home. If she says husband or married or something, I see myself as a wife, then I would definitely not advise her to go to college. or she should prioritize herself as growing up, learning how to take care of herself as an adult and preparing herself to be a wife. That would be what I would suggest that she do.
All right, there we have it. Rick,
Sir.
what should that young lady be prioritizing, man? Should she be prioritizing finding her man or pursuing her career?
Well, doesn't a man find a good woman? Don't we had a conversation that good women get scooped up automatically? Don't we have that conversation?
Mhm.
Right? So
Yeah.
again, if you're a woman looking to be a wife, you will be found. Wives don't stay on the market too long. Right? But a woman has to be able to provide for herself in case eventualities happen.
Right.
Right? But again, if we want to be honest about it, y'all say a woman should find themselves and mold themselves. And let's be honest, if we're looking at society as a whole, women molding themselves is not going too well. Right? So the first thing, you shouldn't be looking for a man should be looking for you as a wife. See, they see you out in the street, they see your swagger, they see how you present yourself. Right? Of course, you got to take care of bases, but to prioritize that, what happens when women prioritize that, they become obsessed. They become conditioned. They become to the point where they chase the bag more than the man they say they want. And at that point, we all know what happens. Hypergamy kicks in, and we all know, ladies, once you go to an Audi, you never go back to a Chevy. Right? So let's be honest about it, right? Again, and what's crazy is that we had these conversations where women are the masters of multitasking. Y'all can run a house, y'all can run a business, we can have it all. Right? But when it comes to just being the man, being a good woman for a man, and letting him lead, and picking out the right one or finding the right one, that's out the question. It's either career or the man. But I digress.
Hey, real quick, man, make sure y'all tap that like button if y'all enjoying the conversation, man. Salute to the gang in the building. Malevolent Elephant, I see you, my boy. What's going on, man? Salute to everybody that pulled up on us. Daryl, what up, bro? All right, Ronan, what should the young lady be prioritizing, man? Finding her man, her lifelong mate, or pursuing her career?
First and foremost, I want you guys to check out Crew and A. Awesome content. It's actual organic. And a lot is very educational, especially with people contributing with information and just going up on the panel. Awesome shit. I'll say it personally. What she should prioritize, her trajectory. What does she want for herself? Just like SB and Ricky were saying, when you start becoming obsessed with certain things, you start letting things slip to the wayside. It'll cost you. If you're training her to be a good woman, she will be found, but she has to be well-rounded with her education, mainly about herself, how to maneuver correctly, not just chasing a bag or chasing a nutsack. She has to be understanding what she's wanting to do. Be that woman, be prepared when she walks into that, she doesn't trip herself up so bad. So I just start figuring out what she wants for a 5-10-year plan and then try to guide her as best I can. But chasing that bag, college, she might find out that college might not be for her. Or if she's out there chasing a dude, she might miss opportunities, that she's always wanted, and she has a passion or something, and she misses out on that. So the best thing I want to do is guide her the best way to she had the least amount of regret and put her in a position to win, because she can multitask, but still she got to have her head on straight or she'll lose everything.
That's well said. Well said. Ronan, they're saying that they can hear your dog snoring in the background or something. They're saying.
I'm about to say somebody, dog or person, is
That's my dog.
snoring.
That's Ronan's dog. He does it every week.
That's my dog. He got sleep apnea. That's what it is.
He got sleep apnea. Does he have a CPAP machine?
No, but he just fat. I'm just trying to get him out there.
He got a Walmart fan.
Yeah.
He got a Walmart.
Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, I was like, ooh, okay.
I don't know what the hell that was. Kayla, you there? Miss Kayla.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there she is. All right.
I'm here. Can you
very-
guys hear me?
Yeah, you good. So what's your
Okay.
thoughts, man?
So bear with me if I cut in and out. So what I will say is that I'm just going to use my own personal experience. I genuinely think it's important to focus on your career. If you're a woman that, prioritizes her relationship, that can interfere with it. I'll just say I was in a relationship in college, and I forgoed studying overseas because I didn't want to be away from my partner at the time, who I thought I was going to marry and have a life with and all of these things. And that was the wrong decision. And I regret that every day, 15 years later, that I wish I had went to Spain. And why didn't I do that? And why did I care about this relationship more than I cared about like getting to know myself as a person and pursuing what I wanted as a 19-year-old kid. So I will say you're still a child. You are a teenager at 18. Literally a few months before college, you were asking to use the bathroom. So I just feel like it's important to prioritize your career, and the right man will find you during that process. And but when coming from the South, just a lot of stock goes into relationships and emotional energy, and it can be a distraction. So I would say, be friendly, date, but I wouldn't take anyone serious until like closer to graduation.
Well said. My thoughts, man. I'm gonna reiterate what I said on the pod, man. I feel like, no, let me not say that. I think that a woman should solidify her livelihood first and then worry about a man later. The fact is that relationships are a losing game. I'm looking at it from a completely logical perspective, right? What's the divorce rate? It's around 50% or somewhere over that. So that means that most people don't make it in terms of marriage. And we ain't even talking about the millions of relationships that fail before you even get there. Right. So what is the result of those failures? Right now we have women who are single mothers. We have, women who sacrificed school and, decided to pursue this relationship or sacrifice this career opportunity for this man. And the relationship didn't work out. Now she's uneducated, can't really provide for herself in a sufficient way. And she has kids now that the dad isn't in the house for. So now it's going to be harder for her to get back on that track that she was on to try to sustain livelihood. Right. So that's why I feel like, in my opinion, man, you got to solidify the livelihood first. I agree with what Ricky is saying in terms of a good man is going to find you. That's a fact. If you have those traits that you need to have, I'm going to find you. I don't care because your career does not intimidate me. Right. But I feel like once you find that solid dude, you got to be able to create space for him. And we're going to elaborate on that a bit down the line. But the irony about this situation is that most men would say that, hey, well, I ain't gonna say most men. Most men in this space would say that, hey, the woman should pursue the man. Find your man first. Like you need to go from covering to covering. You need to be looking for the husband. 18, 19, 20. Husband. And I don't think they really realize what they asking her to do. Right? You literally asking her to put her livelihood into somebody's hands and gamble on a losing game, on a losing bet. Hypothetically speaking, let's present a scenario, right? Let's say we take these same men or one of these guys and sit them down at a table and say, hey, look, man, I got a business opportunity for you, gang. But I'm gonna need all the money in your bank account. I'm gonna need all the assets you done accumulated. I need your house, I need your cars. I liquidate all of that and send me all that money to invest into this business plan I got for us. Now, if this business plan goes well, you're going to be set for life, and you ain't got to worry about working ever again. But here's the caveat. It's a 25% chance of it going well, 75% chance of it failing. Would these same men who advise these women to put their livelihood in a man's hands take that deal? They'll look at the man and laugh on the way out of the door. Yet they expect women to do that very thing, just in a different sphere. So if it doesn't make sense on one side, doesn't make sense on the other. And that's how I rationalize it, right? Because again, it is a losing game. We have to acknowledge this. It's just like walking into the casino. As soon as you walk through those doors, the odds are against me. That's just what it is, right? I could be feeling as good as I want to feel. But just like Kenny said on the pod, casinos don't stay open 24 hours for nothing because they're losing money. New casinos aren't getting built every day in Vegas because they're losing money. It's a losing game. If you sit at that table long enough, you will leave broke, right? So relationships are the same way. That's just reality. And what you want to do is mitigate or hedge your bets going in as much as you possibly can. It's just not smart to gamble on a losing game in terms of your livelihood.
But
Because
Trio,
when it goes wrong, you're gonna be asked out.
Trio, it's
Yeah.
a losing game on both sides. To have a woman to go to school for 4 years to get a liberal arts degree to work at Bank of America, the same bank she could have been working at 19 and moved up in the ranks and have them pay for her college education and be out here with several different men, sexually liberated with nothing. It's a losing game on both sides. You got to be making good decisions on both sides. You don't win unless you win. You're taking a gamble on either sides. For a woman, it is definitely best for a woman to be covered. But, you know, unless you're going into some STEM, IT, to get a degree, be a doctor with 8 to 10 years, you still taking a chance on losing. There's no guarantee in any type of relationship, but being by yourself is a bigger gamble.
Well,
Right, but see, I think hold on. Just me to respond to that, right? Again, I think we're missing each other, and that's why I asked you for clarity earlier.
Mhm.
Question is pursue her career, not pursue college. So when I'm stating solidify your livelihood, I mean being able to take care of yourself in a very comfortable fashion, meaning getting you a nice house, nice car, nice income coming in, and then you find a man. I'm not necessarily saying go to college. There's a lot of ways to make money, right? But a lot of men in the space down talk career women, whether they went to college or not.
Okay.
She could go the same route you said, elevated Bank of America,
Yeah.
18, reach
Okay, I
that
got you.
executive level, meet that man, and she making hunt 6 figures. He gonna have a problem with that.
No, I
A
agree.
lot of men, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that's why I think that we're missing each other. We're
Right.
saying the same thing.
I agree with you because like I said, real estate. You could go into real estate, get a degree. Yeah. I agree totally with you. Then,
But my intimate take on this is that, again, we can use the fear, right? Because that's what it is, the fear of a woman being on her own and struggling, right? But the truth is, from the world we live in today, from the time I was little, that's what all Black girls was getting taught. Black girls, get your career, get your education, get your career. And unfortunately, once these women establish a career, they're too long in the tooth and have too much baggage, hurt, or things to proceed with marriage. So are we going to continue? So like this all about the bag. Is the difference is that the real story is that both have their pros and cons, right? It's just that a career give you instant gratification. Right now, if you had a good man and y'all had an understanding, again, like I said, a good man, you're not going to have to work yourself to the bone. That man will work 2 or 3 jobs to make sure his family's straight if he being real about it. Right. So again, the very thing that people say is the safest for women is really what's destroying the culture of marriage.
But see, I would say it's more the circumstances that put the women in that position to have that mindset is what's messing the culture up. Example, right? Where does that fear come from? It comes from an era of women who didn't have a dad in the home. So an era of women who are not used to having that mate who can cover them and take care of them for a myriad of reasons. We can get in the crack epidemic, we can get in the war, we can get in whichever one. But result was no man in the house, which meant that woman had to get on her grind, work 2-3 jobs, different things like that. And it's a lot of women that had to do that, right? So when they're doing that, that creates a mindset of, hey, baby, you cannot depend on no man. Go out there and get your education so you don't end up like me, uneducated, working 2 or 3 jobs, just trying to make ends meet barely because the man that I gambled, to my analogy earlier on, failed and I crapped out. So I feel like that the circumstances created the mindset. It wasn't just women wanting to go get that education and just elevate and things of that nature. It's because a lot of them didn't have a damn choice because the man was not in the home.
I-
So I just feel like that has to be acknowledged. Go ahead,
I
Queen.
guess we all got something to say. But
Yeah.
Queen, I saw you go up to the mic before I started
Go
speaking.
ahead,
so
go
you
ahead, Samantha.
To your point, Trill, my mother was married and then my father left while me and my brother were young. And because of that situation, you know, of course they had circumstances, they had situations, but they divorced. And so my mother had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet for us. And that required us to, you know, she made it work, but she wanted to make sure that because her husband left, she basically said, you know, you need to get your education because you don't know what will happen. You don't know, you know, like you said, it is a losing game. It is a gamble when you decide to bet on a man. So my mom was like, no, get an education, get your master's, get your license, become the therapist that you've been wanting to become. I did. I became the licensed clinician and then I got married. But the reality is that, you know, that was the safer bet and the best bet for me, because now I have skills. Now now there is things that go wrong in my household. I am able to provide, and I'm able to be because it's two income households now anyway. Not many are sustaining off of one. So of course there are people that prefer a woman not to work, and I get that as well, but there's a lot more to it. And so Trill, to your point, I just wanted to share my story because that's exactly why my mother pushed for me to get my education.
And then I would like to add really quick 2 things. I don't want to downplay a woman's choice, because a woman that chooses to go to college, or a woman that chooses to indulge in real estate education, or a woman that chooses to take a bank career, they all require dedication and a discipline of study and alone time and having to pass the bar and pass the test. So it's not like it's not like one is below or under the other. I just want to make sure that we are giving women their due diligence here, you know, no matter what field of study or what lane she chooses to take. And then I also want to make sure that we're not minimizing men, because I think men have evolved and men need more from women now than they've needed before. And men don't just need women to lay with them and cook for them. Right. And that's it. Because men leave relationships like that now these days, that, you know, those marriages have some of the highest rates of divorce in women that actually work and contribute to the household, because men feel like it's a one-sided relationship. It's a lot of stress. It takes a lot of toll on him. They get sick. They get cancer. They get laid off. And when she comes to that relationship with no skills, she's also doing him a disservice. So I want to make sure that we're not minimizing men and women in this conversation to say that all a man needs from a woman is for her to be there and cook and clean, because a lot of men make more than enough money. I'm not saying anybody's saying that. I just want to make sure the audience is not getting that. Enough men make enough money where they can hire somebody to come in, cook and clean, and actually entertain anybody they want to without having to marry them. So, you know, when a man chooses a woman, it's not because she's not working necessarily, or it's a lot that goes into that. So I just wanted to add that, just that 2 piece.
I did want to make a point. Oh, sorry.
Go. Okay.
I just want to make a really quick point. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kayla. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to make a quick point. When we were talking about the specific example that Trill said at 18 years old, a young lady in college, when you really think about it, the men that you were around at that time are not prioritizing marriage. You would have to remove yourself from that environment and go somewhere where there are older men to find men that are in the space for that. If you're 18 years old on a college campus, the other freshman boys on that college campus that's not their priority at that time. They're focused on their career. They're focused on, I want to be CEO. I want to be this. I want to be whatever they want to be. And they're going to prioritize that over any college relationship. So I think it's weird that women aren't expected to do the same. Because I genuinely don't believe 18 and 19-year-old boys are like, yay, I'm in college, I'm looking for a wife. That's not what they're there looking for. So I do think that would be ineffective, in my opinion. And then secondly, I know we all talk about men leaving, or, you know, it's not working out, but I think we forget the realities of the situation is things happen to people. My best friend is a widow at 33. Her husband passed away and she had 2 daughters under 3. And she wasn't working and she had to leap into the workforce and figure out how to take care of her family. So I know that we don't think about things like that, but tragedies happen every day. And if you're going to be a mother, I believe that you need to have skills to take care of your offspring, no matter what the circumstances may be. And so I think it's important to prioritize having an education, having a skill before you are a wife and a mother. And that's just, my opinion.
I was going to add to the fact that I think you can do a bit of both. I just think everything is about the correct timing. I know, as B was saying about, girls going away to college, but now we have so many options in how we can do college. So even if she stays at home and do online classes, she still is gaining that education that could lead to a better career, a better position for her to contribute to her family if need be. So I do think that's important. The other thing too is I personally think that college isn't the place to necessarily put your focus on trying to find a mate, as opposed to once you're graduating and you start your career. I think trying to find a mate in that time span of your life may be a little better, only because typically that partner is also in their career as well. And then just looking at some of the information that I saw in regards to, I was telling Trillian earlier about my own situation with like my son getting married and things like that. And he got married very young. But just looking at the stats, like trying to get married at 18 or even 20, your likelihood of divorce increases dramatically. So the truth of the matter is, if the goal is marriage and to stay married, then I do think a lot of growth needs to come between 18 to 23, 24. They say like that, good age is probably around 25. So I do think if marriage is the goal and to stay married, then I do think it's important to pursue things that are of interest and can later on contribute to your family.
I agree. 25 is the age I always give, man. We're going to pay some bills real quick and we're going to come back to it. So solid in the building with the 10 ball. This going to be a dope convo. Panelist 5, Ricky, SB, Trill, OT. I see y'all. What up, gang? I appreciate you, bro. Kev in the building, 20 ball. My dog, you say balance needs to be achieved, not too far on one side or the other. Appreciate you, bro. Eugene, the 5 ball. What up, bro? A woman has to balance her career aspirations with being with a man. The good man will make sacrifices to be with her. I agree. Sacrifice got to be made on both ends for sure. God with the 5 ball. He just wanted to show love, man. I appreciate it, big dog. That's love. Appreciate you. Daryl in the building. With the 20 ball. Attention, hit the like button. Y'all heard the man. Make sure y'all tap that like button if y'all ain't got a chance to already. We appreciate y'all for pulling up on us, man. Cruise Season merch available, cruiseseason.com. Like I said earlier, man, all t-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, hats, all that, man. cruiseseason.com. Make sure y'all tap in. Salute to everybody who done bought it already. It's love. All right. Let's get into it.
I would like to add to the last piece as well. Because what Kayla was saying was true. Like I said, in order to build our Black wealth in general, if we can create that earlier, the earlier the better. You know what I'm saying? Combining those bills, you paying bills, I'm paying bills. What sense does it make for us to be, paying double the bills and we can be under one roof and splitting it? And that way we have more money in our pockets for the future when we get 25, 26, whatever. But also, I think what we also missing is, like, for the cats that don't go to school, maybe because, we're from a small town, but when a lot of the guys that graduated school, they went straight to a trade from high school. So they was trying to get married at 19, 20, maybe not trying to get married, but they was already wanting to be with the woman, settle down, eventually have a family, because they was going to get that trade and they ready to, because a lot of them went to, different, like little trades during school. They would leave school, co-op. They would leave school, go do trades. So they've been doing trades for a year or so. So by the time they graduate, they're already making decent money, welding, any type of, trades like that. So, I mean, a lot of men, I think the small towns, that's what I saw. Like that's what they were doing, trying to start a family early because our parents got married at 19, 20. Not saying it was right and you should do that, but I think they was trying to look and operate from that mindset too.
Hold on, pardon, my bad. All right, man. We're gonna get into the next question of the night, man. This is a phrase that just kind of turns my stomach when I hear it or when I see it. But we're gonna unpack why y'all feel like that is, man. We often hear women say a lot of times in this era that we in, I don't need a man. I don't need a man. Recently, we covered a clip on our podcast in which a young lady was talking about she'd rather be a mother than a wife. She'd rather cater to her baby than cater to any grown man, where she is in her life. And the thing is that I always do, I go read the comments. And she had a lot of she had a lot of people agreeing with her on that notion. Matter of fact, when we voiced our concerns and opposition to it, they was in the comments fighting us. I was like, well, you don't understand. You gotta understand, like, different people want different things, and she shouldn't be villainized for this and blah 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 blah. Right. But the sentiment that I got from the clip was, I don't need a man. I don't. Just give me my baby, and I'm cool. So I want to get y'all take on, like, what do y'all feel like that mindset stems from, man? Is it realistic? Is it healthy? What does it stem from? We're gonna start with Rick.
This irritates me, bro. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. This triggers me for real. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Right? Where they get it from they mamas, they daddies, they greasy grandmammies. You know what I'm saying? It's just a fact because, again, our people, we operate out of fear. We don't operate out of, necessity, and we react. We don't proact. Right? That again, just to tie it into what you just said, like, it seems feasible. It makes sense, right? It makes sense to say, hey, girl, go out there and get your career, or you don't need no man. You know why? Because our women and our men operate out of fear. We always rock with the worst case scenario. Right? We don't never look at what's the what the greatness that we could achieve. We look at what the bad that could happen. Right? Divorce is 50%, right? But that means 50% of marriages end in divorce, right? But that means 50% of marriages succeed. It's a mental thing. Right? And the truth of the matter, any woman that honestly, look, we all here to do what we all here to do. I like women. I love them. I love women. I love y'all. Listen to what I'm saying, baby. I love y'all. Right? I like the way y'all smell. I like looking at y'all. I like good conversation. Right? And if a woman loves men the way men love women, how can you say you don't need no man? Now, if you batting for the other team, let us know. Right? But again, what it really comes down to is that you don't want to have to answer to nobody. You don't want to be under anyone's authority. You don't want to be led to stuff y'all ask you. You don't want dominance. You don't want nobody to lead you the right way. You just don't. You agent of chaos. And if that's what you want to do, just say that then.
Just me and the Lord.
That's why they say it. Because them being with a good man, being with somebody that they find that is above them and that can lead them will require them to be a different person. Y'all say they this and they not that. That's why they say it. Because Lord be it that you require, a man require you to be better. That's all I got.
My dog. Appreciate you. Sam, I'm going right to you with this one. We hear this term a lot in the space, man. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. Where do you feel like that mindset, that thought process stems from?
Trauma. I think that a lot of that thought process of I don't need a man, I'm good on my own, I don't want to have to deal with this, comes from a lot of hurt. And a lot of people out here are dating and they're broken. They have not done their work. They have not started their healing journey. They have not sat down with a therapist. They lack accountability. You can't keep them accountable because a lot of times there's levels of, I call it a fragile ego, somebody that can't handle being wrong or being challenged or constructive criticism. Everything that you say to them seems like it's an attack on them, and therefore they just don't hear anything. They reject everything. And so I think that the I don't need a man thing, not only is it happening from people that they've been hurt by a man, they're like, I don't need a man, forget him, blah, blah, blah. My last dude did this. And so I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that. Then in addition to that, you have our society and our culture reinforcing that messaging, making that sound cool. And therefore you got women, young women, because I work in high schools, saying it, and they ain't never smelled a man before. Like they don't have any idea, but they still saying they don't need a man. So again, it's not only because people are hurt and therefore they're not processing their hurt in a constructive way. It's like not all men are bad, just the men you choose are bad. And until you get the healing that you need, you're going to keep dealing with the same spirit in a different body. Because that's what we do. We just continue to repeat the cycle and then get mad and say to your younger, your daughters that may be in the home saying, you don't need a man because you haven't healed. And they go around saying it and they have never, it just continues to keep going and going and going. And so that's where I think it comes from.
Well said. Ronan, where does that thought process come from?
When I hear that, I hear it's the battle cry of the walking wounded, a bunch of broken dolls. She saw by examples by her grandmothers, and I seen it in real time. Grandmother, mother, third generation of failures. Grandma, mama taught her, like, look, that man's disposable. Keep your dick on the table and see what happens. Instead of facing herself and fixing herself. And being surrounded by women who actually teach you how to nurture rather than neuter. When you start seeing women thinking and moving like that, men nowadays definitely they move around. They say, I don't have the patience or time. And you're gonna have to bring more than your vagina to offer peace than for me to deal with you. So
Facts.
So when you hear that goofiness, that lets you know I refuse to grow up. And I'm definitely afraid of what life is like without my negative narrative. That's what I see.
Well said, SB. I don't need a man. Where does that thought process come from?
I'm agreeing with all three of them, but I'm gonna add just out of order. Women just no longer have a place. They don't want to be in order anymore. They don't want to submit to what the order is. They do not want the man over them. They rather respond with the survival mode. But the thing that puzzles me so much about that, because it kind of goes back to what Samantha said and what you said too, Trill. They don't want the man, but they continuously sleep with them. They continuously want to be underneath them, as in having sex, but then they don't need them. Now, if a woman came to me and said, I don't need a man, or I'm not interested in a man anymore, just like Queen just said, just me and the Lord, I would have so much respect for her. Like, do your job, girl. Continue. Follow the Lord. Do what he says. Be fruitful. But for a woman to come to me and say, I don't need a man, and she just been up underneath the man 2 nights ago, and she's got this chant going on, it's like, there ain't no trauma here. You playing games. You just want to be in survival. You want that check. You just want to hurt somebody. And who started the war? I don't even know, but it's time for it to be over. So it just seems like it's just not really real. It just seems like I just want to hurt you. I just want to hurt you. I've also heard, though, that it was control. They want control, and they also want to get back. So that would go again with the trauma. They want to get back at the men, and they want to control them. So again, out of order.
That's heavy right there. Go ahead, Ron.
I want to say quickly to SB's point, they want the covering without correction. And that's what leads you to be a beautiful bum, because you like slumming in relationships rather than contributing positively in relationships. That's why a lot of guys don't take you seriously.
We have it.
Ronan, your dog makes it lighter for me. Like hearing your dog in the background. You come in so strong, but then I hear the snoring and I can't receive the message on the same level.
For y'all, I'm gonna wake his ass up because he get on my nerves.
Don't do that, Ronan.
That's all good. Go ahead, Kenny.
Can you repeat the question? I want to make sure I answer accordingly.
Yeah, many women have a thought process of, I don't need a man. And, you know, it stems from a myriad of reasons. I'm interested in getting your take on what you feel like is the most pivotal one that it stems from.
I often, if you really listen, I often say, stay curious. A lot of times. So what I've learned by way of psychology is the first time a person says something, that's not really what they mean. It's a fact. It's the second time, as they say, is when you get the true answer. So keep this in mind. The first time when somebody says something, it's a facade. It's off, whatever y'all call off rip. It's the second time. Ask them again. And the second answer you get is the real answer. And what I've come to understand from women is they don't necessarily mean I don't need a man. What they mean is I don't need, what they mean is I want one. I don't need one. I want one. I don't need one. But they leave that part out. And they lead with the defensive mechanism, which everybody has said comes from trauma, hurt, and everything else. You know, whatever reason it is that they're showing up like that. And I challenge us to stay curious as Black people, because we all carry a little bit of systemic pain, hurt, whether it's from our parents, our dads, whatever reason. And it's not just subjective to women, y'all. That's why I always feel like the conversations are one-sided. A lot of men come with this too. They may not say, I don't need a woman, but they'll treat you like they don't need you. Does that make sense? You can get the fuck out. You can pack your shit. Because another bitch come up in here and do the shit you won't do. It's the same thing. Excuse my language. It's just said in a different manner. But my goal for us is, how do we get to a solution? Like you say, stay curious. What do you really mean by that?
But isn't that saying the same thing? To say that you want one but don't need one, aren't you saying the same thing?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I want you, but I don't need you. But most times that's a negative. That's what I'm saying. They lead with the negative instead of saying, I want you here. I really do. But if we can't make it, that's fine. I'll be okay without you. I don't need that to happen, but that's what I want to happen. That's different.
But don't we need our men though? Don't we need them?
That may not be the one. That may not be the one though.
Oh, I got you now.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but I don't think we stay curious enough to talk to each other. Because once somebody say that to you, oh, you don't need me. Well, shit, I'm up out. Everybody gets in defensive mode. I'm out of here. Well, you get and nobody gets curious, because you're not. I'm gonna hurt. If you gonna hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you first. You draw blood, I'm drawing blood too. Well, we can do this, and we all come from that. And I really wish as Black people, we just pause for a second. And I'm having fun with this conversation, but I wish we pause for a second and give each other a little bit more grace and stay curious and not immediately put up a defensive and say, okay, well, I'm out. Hold on. I want you to think about what you're saying. Because once I'm out, then I'm out. Take a second. Because what I'm hearing is you don't want me here, period. Is that what you're saying to me? You may want to think about that. How many times do people give you that amount of grace before chunking the deuce? Because now don't nobody care no more. I ain't got no feelings. I give 0 Fs. You get what I'm saying? So even when people say stuff, a lot of times, like you're saying, it is coming from a place of hurt and pain and trauma. But what can we do to elevate it and make it right? To say, I see you, I hear you. And I just want to double check. Is that what you really mean? That's it.
Well said. Well said. Nigel, I don't need a man. What do you feel like that statement stems from? What do you feel like the thought process is behind that? You on mute, bro.
My fault, y'all. I'm agreeing with what everybody else said. I'm gonna add to some things though. It also comes down to our music too, though. I mean, honestly, girls love Beyonce. We know she got her favorite records. We all know.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Samuel talked about it too with TLC. Girls don't want no scrubs, same thing. But it's a continuum of all of that. Like all of that wrapped in one. They hear it on the radio. They hear it. They growing up. They going through with their parents. You really can't talk about something that you didn't see. So if your parents ain't, or if you by yourself growing up, then you're gonna automatically assume that, hey, I don't need nobody because my mama doing it by herself. Well, I can't do it by myself. You know what I'm saying? It's all of that. And then I think that, and I know I'm going back because I didn't get to speak on the question before that, but I think really women should prioritize not necessarily being in a relationship, but learning how to be in a relationship. That should be more prioritized, because if you prioritize that, I feel like you can do both. You can prioritize learning how to be in a relationship and still be able to get your education. That way, when you are finished and you got your degree or you got your certification or whatever, you know how to treat a man, you know how to be one. Because just like we just said, everybody's saying about, they don't need a man, but you need to learn how to deal with one. And that's the hardest part, where I feel like they don't want to deal with one. They don't want to put in the work. I mean, men are already have the mindset of putting in the work, period, whether it's jobs or whatever. So when it comes to a relationship, I think we are willing to put in the work to a relationship. But as far as a woman, I don't really feel like they're willing to put in the work because they've never seen nobody put in the work, honestly.
It's heavy. It's heavy. It's taken. What are your thought process on that? Like, what do you feel like that statement stems from?
I think I see things a little differently, just a different perspective. Like I do think some of it comes from trauma or generationally seeing a woman be the head of the household. But I also think that some women really don't know what they need in a man or from a man. If you don't necessarily have an example, and as a society, we reduce men to just money and, protection, so to speak. As a young woman, I can provide those things for myself. Like if I'm going to college, I get me a good job. I don't necessarily need you for money. The protection piece, like I can get me a piece, if I need to protect me or call the police. So I think that there's some confusion in terms of what outside of those things, what is it that I can benefit from having a man in my life? And I think we really don't know, especially the way society is, because previously there was the environment was set up for a need, right? You needed a husband, historically. But now I guess the question is, how does that translate now more in a modern society? How does that look in terms of a woman need for a man? And I think that's where some of that come from. So it's easy to say, I don't need a man, because if you're independent and you're paying all your bills and doing all of those things, that's typically what men were tied to doing. So you don't need them for that. So I think that's where some of the confusion comes in. And, and then if the messaging is also, well, if you have a man, then your responsibility as a woman is to be the helpmate or be submissive. And the way that is portrayed is that's negative. Submissive means I got to be your slave, or being a helpmate means I just got to take care of you. So that equals another kid. So in their mind, it's like, well, I just might as well have the kid, skip the, the all of the rest of the stuff and, move forward. But I think the focus needs to be is showing women, or, being able to teach women what that need is in a man.
I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Who should teach him?
I would say ideally, if the parents are together, they would be able to kind of see that if it's a healthy marriage. The problem is that in our community, we, majority are coming from single-led households, typically single female-led households. So I would say the mom would need to teach them. But if the mom is, doing it on her own, then the likelihood of her being able to teach that directly, unless she grew up in a household whose parents was there, and even though it didn't work out for her, that she can then say, you know, this is the need, you know, this is what a husband should be. This is the things that you should be looking for in a husband. But the likelihood of that happening, I don't know, because, you know,
I mean, can we say by the results in the modern times that though the likelihood of that happening is very low?
Absolutely.
So is a man not needed because the way to get the correct instruction is to see a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I'm not saying that the man.
No, I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just making a point.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think that's the exact thing. When you have society as a whole reinforcing, like somebody said, through music, through movies, and then you are living it in your household as well. That's a great question. Where would you get the correct messaging? Like, where would a woman be able to understand the need for a man in her life? And vice versa, where would a man learn beyond just a woman cooking and cleaning for him, what value a woman would add to his life as a wife? I think neither group is getting that messaging.
Well, you should be getting it for your elders that did it right.
Well, we just talked about generations of children being raised in a single-led household. So if that's the case in that situation, where would they get it?
The elders that did it correctly. The ones who took advantage, or who were the husband and wife in the one household. Those people, the examples of who did it the correct way, they should be able to share with the younger generations if that's what they want. Because this is not working for us, because it's just like Ricky said, you know, when are we going to get it right? If we keep
the very arguments we have against this conversation.
Yeah,
I don't need no man. When we get to the root solution of it, the man is what you need to get away from this problem in the first place. It's just crazy to me how, and y'all know I stay in the chat. Y'all, everybody needs somebody. Your mama needed your daddy for your ass to get here, stupid. This let me know how messed up y'all thinking is. Right? Y'all think it's something that's being put upon us by the man or some outside force. And these are the things we do as people to ourselves. Everybody know, every single one of y'all know the best way to raise a family, not just statistically, but in real world times, to have two loving parents to raise a family. But we've had these little stupid conversations about how a person should prioritize this or no, we should be prioritizing getting our families back together. Stop having babies before you're married. It's nothing wrong with a woman finding a career, but what was the word you used, Trill? You said prioritize, right? Prioritize means I negate everything else for this one thing. Number one on my priority list, number two, number three, number four, right? So when push come to shove, number one's always going to rule supreme, right? You can get your career, that's cool, but to prioritize it over finding the best thing that can happen in your life, the same way a man chasing his career and he got a great woman right there in front of him, the best woman he gonna ever get in his life, he say, I'm getting the bag. It's stupid. The same way if a woman did and you chasing the bag, it's stupid. But remember, at the end of the day, it's your life. You the one who got to live with the regrets when you 60 and ain't nobody helping you out the bed. Believe you that.
And then, you know, too, we can't look for perfection. There's many couples. There are many households that had a husband and a wife. They still operate in order. It didn't mean the woman was perfect nor the man. You still saw the order and it was still respected in the house. So you still can learn from that. It doesn't have to be perfection, because what we're doing right now is way off. If a woman thinks that she doesn't need a man, it's way off. We do. We need each other, actually. But that wasn't the question.
It's all good.
Can I add that? Oh, go ahead, Drew. My bad.
No, go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say to your point, SB, I actually had a conversation with somebody because of like the social media presence. I think there's a lot of people that have FOMO, their fear of missing out. So they feel like, oh, if I settle down with this one good dude, what if there's a better dude that has all these other things going on? Like, women don't want to settle down because they're waiting on the unicorn. They got a good dude, overlook the good dude, waiting on the unicorn that never shows up. And this idea of perfection and Mr. Perfect or Mrs. Perfect, it's a fallacy. It's not real. But we buy into these Disney movies, and really we have to think about, the enemy. I look at it spiritually. The enemy doesn't like covenant. So he's going to bring about messaging into our society in order to break up families and perpetuate that cycle over and over and over again until we have voices like ourselves to do something different, to lead our women in a different way, to lead our men in a different way. So I appreciate this kind of conversation, but that's what I just wanted to say. I think also the fear of missing out on social media plays a role in that.
That's very good. I never heard that before. FOMO.
So I did want to speak on this if I could. So I'm just going to say where I think it comes from per my own family's personal experience. My grandmother is 85. She's a time widow. My mother was also married for 12 years. So what I will say.
Oh, you cut out, Kay.
Might be still driving.
We lost you, Kayla.
It looked like she muted.
You on mute? Yeah, she up there in the mountains, man.
She in the mountains.
Yeah, there ain't no signal out there. I already know.
For some.
Let's see that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you good.
No.
Yes, we're good.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll make it quick just in case. Okay, so what I would just say is that I think where that comes from is that women literally needed men to operate as adults in society until a certain period. And so women were forced to endure certain things because of that need. And so when I seen that experience from my grandmother, it was saying that because I'm able to provide certain things for myself now, I don't need to stay in a toxic situation in order to survive anymore. I don't need to do that anymore. I can be with a man I actually want to be with versus having to be forced to be with a man in order to operate as an adult in a society. Can't even get a bank account, can't get a loan, can't really, do those things. And she's 85. So just from that perspective, that's a thing. Whereas like we say, oh, the families were together, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of grandmothers that I know whose families were together, but the things that they had to endure, physical abuse, all different types of things that they endured to keep that family together because they didn't really have a choice, income, education. I really think that that's where it comes from my perspective, is saying that I'm with a man that I want, that respects me, that treats me good. I don't need to stay with a man that doesn't treat me well just so that I can survive. So I think that is kind of the foundation of it. And then I agree a lot with what Ms. Taken said in terms of like, what are the benefits? Because, in terms of some of the things that women even endure these days, whether it's cheating, whether it's disrespect, whatever it may be, what value does that have in enduring that over being a single or continuing to look for the next mate? And I think that a lot of women are looking at it that way. All these men play games. These, men are out here with other women, blah, blah, blah. All the emotional stress and damage that comes from being in a relationship where say you don't need that until you're with a man that actually respects you, that you want. You don't need to endure that trauma just to have a man anymore. You can provide for yourself. You can feed yourself so you can have peace until you meet the right man versus needing to have a man. So that's just what I think.
Something, when I hear us speak, when I hear Kayla speak, and I hear other women too also sometimes speak about men, it almost sounds like our men are monsters. Like that is you got to wear it. Y'all are just monsters. It's just a
so
small.
So you're saying that some of them are SB. Some men are monsters.
I can't.
Exist.
Not all of them.
No, I know that they all are not. I know that I have a husband, a fine husband. But it's just that I just think that it's so, when we say things like that, it becomes so conditional. Like if someone hears this all the time, And that's the message for a young lady that hasn't experienced men, like Samantha said. These women, these young girls she worked with, haven't even experienced men. And if what they're hearing is all negative, or if a black man's face of the community is a negative, then I would definitely be in survival mode, be fearful, be scared, all those things that we've already said. I would definitely be that way.
But I think it's also unfair to hide that part of reality from our children.
No, what we
Right?
hide is the good
Hold
man.
on. Just like we don't want men to think all women are good, because they're not.
I don't hear men talk about women like that.
Because they don't talk to us about it. Because we're
No,
not in their
I have
circle.
a-
That's what
I
I'm
have a
saying.
pet-
Like, men have their own private conversations about what they feel. They're not necessarily on these panels spilling their guts about what they truly feel. We're not supposed to hear it, because men have their own city council meetings amongst each other, and they deal with a lot of shit internally. If you really understand men, and they, well, bro, you too, yeah, she what, and they do all of that, and they ain't really said nothing, but they understand each other without saying she ain't shit, right? And
Well,
they all get it. And
let
they've
me
said
say
maybe 5 words and exchanged 5 words between each other. But the reality is they're not hiding it from each other. You see what I'm saying?
What I'm saying is, if me as a person, I'm hearing both sides. I do hear men complain about women, but it sounds nothing like what women. I've never heard a man go back into grandma time or, great grandma time and talk about how trifling she was. I never heard that.
So what did you hear today?
What I heard today is that how men used to treat their women so bad that they would beat them, they would abuse them, they would cheat on them. And some of these men today, they just cheat on women. I don't hear men talk that way about their women. Now, they might say some of the things, or there may be a video or TikTok video or two out there showing what women are doing now, twerking on the highway, different things like that. But to cause fear, or I just don't hear it the same way.
So do you feel like that's not a reality, that women get beat based on the statistics that we see? Women are, hold on, because this is a reality. So is that something we're not supposed to talk about just to protect Black men? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. If it's unfavorable to a Black man, should we just sweep it under the rug and pretend that it's not happening just to make them look good? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think you should quote what's the most. I think less women get beat than more than get treated well. I think the majority, the numbers are just don't compare. The number of women that get beat versus the number of women that men take care of them, that are good fathers, that are not perfect fathers. We talk about getting beat. We talking about DV now, right?
What is that number, by the way?
I mean, I don't know what the number is, but I know.
We can't say that if you don't. I'm not coming at you, but I'm saying you can't really. Hold on. If you don't know the number, then is it fair to say we shouldn't talk about it?
You brought it up.
No, but I'm asking you, because you said the number that it happens is less likely than the good occurrences that happen. So I ask you, would you happen to know the number? And you said you don't.
What's that's I said,
what is the number?
What's the question? No, I'm saying, but there's many people out there in this comment section that would love to look it up. I just want to know what the question that we're asking.
We were just dialoguing. We were going back and forth. You brought up some points. I brought up some points. But one of the points you brought up, you said, I believe that it's not as bad as most people maximize it to be. I think more women get treated better than they get beat. And I said, would you happen to know the number? And you said no.
So the question is DV higher in the Black community than not? Is that the question?
I'm just saying, whatever you quoted, would you happen to know the number?
I'm just trying to.
Hold on.
It is higher for Black women than their counterparts. Just in general, I think they're about, either depending on what type of abuse. In some cases, physical abuse I think is twice as likely, but emotional or psychological abuse is 4 times more as likely. So it all depends on what type of abuse is being looked at.
I got the number.
So that was my question.
Number is
I don't know what the overall number is. I got it. Okay.
The number is 1 in 3 women suffer either physical or emotional abuse in their lifetime.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2. Hold on. That's a lot, y'all. Do the numbers. That means somebody on this. Why are we doing this to domestic violence?
No, no.
I'm not doing it. What I'm doing it for is the way the conversation with. Hold on, chill out. I'm not gonna argue with nobody. It's not necessary, right? So again, let's talk about what really happened, right? In this
Can we wrap up this real quick, Ricky, just for a quick second? So that's 1 in 3. So if we do the numbers, if we count real quick, that's at least one woman on this panel. That's it. I don't know if anybody cares, but maybe that's why women don't come forth and talk about stuff, because of the way we react to stuff.
But this is not even my point. The point is how we even got into this portion of the conversation. We were talking about how women, right? Then I'm gonna be honest with you. You pivoted this, Queen Sheba, to this, right? Because
no, I didn't. Kayla actually did in Security Boss.
Queen Sheba, just hold on for a second.
Kayla actually did in Security Boss.
Hold on for a second, please. Right? I'm not trying to disrespect nobody. I'm not trying to throw shots at nobody. This is not a fight. This is not an argument. I'm about to make a point, right? So again, we was discussing women, but isn't it funny how we always discussing women's points? We wasn't attacking women. We were simply analyzing, but it always comes back onto how bad the black men are. Notice how that happened in all these conversations? Or is it just me? So when are we gonna have, when can we just have a free general conversation about what we're talking about? Am I lying, or is it, am I seeing something that I wasn't supposed to be seeing?
Yeah, you said I brought it up, and I did. Actually, I thought about it. Security Boss brought it up. I'm sorry, Kayla.
No,
Security Boss, hold on.
That's not what I'm talking about, Queen Sheba. I'm talking about the initial point where you pivot.
I mean, I just made one point. I'm so confused.
Kayla just talked about women back in the day, the older generation, and they stayed in those situations, and it was toxic because some of them were abused. Security Boss kind of spoke more to that part and saying that, why are we just saying all of the negative stuff, and that was, those experiences back then. So that's how it ended up.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's how it ended up leading into that. But in terms of divorce, I can't even say why, but even when we look at the divorce rates for the older generation, like I think they call them now like gray divorces, because these are one of the highest rates of divorce are people who are at that 65 plus age. So those are the women and men that Kayla's actually speaking to. Those are your grandparents, for some great grandparents. So they were in these marriages for this a length of time, and at 65 plus you're getting a divorce. Like, to me, that's crazy. But the fact that you're at an age where you're retired, more than likely the divorce is gonna hit hard, and women and men are still choosing to walk away at that age. It speaks volumes to maybe what was going on in the marriage at that time, that you're still willing to walk away. Like, I just can't. I have the option of getting out, I'm leaving, and you're 65.
Yeah. I have a question. So are black men off limits in these conversations? We can't talk about black men?
You absolutely can. We talk about.
I think what he was saying was how it always, any conversation that we have in every segment that we have, at the end of it, it's going to come back to a black man not doing something. That's what he's saying. And he's saying that why is it always coming back to us? Which in reality, with the whole basis of this conversation, is because women don't have fathers in their life.
And Kayla brought up a good point about the old days. I think Kayla was saying, that's
what it's down, the whole thing.
Listen, we can talk about whatever we need to talk about. My point I was trying to make is the way we say things about black men, it does have an effect on how women or younger girls see men today. That was my point. And I was saying, is it possible that could we change the narrative about the black man so women don't have to be in survival mode or don't have to be afraid of black men? That's exactly what I was saying. And that's when it pivoted. That's when it pivoted.
And in the same breath that you can say that, there are black men on the internet talking about black women so disparagingly that you can say the exact same thing about them. So I don't understand why we derail the whole conversation because of one point that I made, as if that represents the entire conversation. Like, I made a valid point that is true from a personal experience, and I'm not understanding why we can't just acknowledge that as one perspective of the 6 perspectives up here and continue the conversation without it acting like I'm saying, oh, like, I don't get that. I can find a million YouTubers calling Black women hoes and disparaging Black women all over the internet. But I say one comment about something that is true, about a family member that is true, and y'all are triggered, all this, oh, what about talking about the Black, like, really give it a rest, seriously.
So like I said, on my panel, I don't hear men speak of women that way. That's what I said. And this is me talking. You all might hear that. That may be the places that you hear things. I'm just telling you all that if a woman had to hear that, I would be quite scared and fearful of men too. My point I was making is it 50% of the women suffering from DV? I think we've already said that the answer is no. So why can't we promote our men and say, look, there's a lot of good men out there too. This is how they respond. This is how they act. And also women, I'm always promoting a woman. I don't big up the women that are disrespectful to men. I big up the women that want to be wives. So I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm not actually like saying, hey, do this, cuss that man out. He ain't no good. So I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm just asking the question is, can we change the face of the community as far as the Black man to be a positive? Or are we really saying that the Black man is no good? Because like I said, I have a good one. And all these ones on the panel here, I think they're pretty positive also. That was the only point I was making.
All right, y'all. We're gonna get back on track. Oh,
Conversation, always say positive things, and move forward on the panel. We'll just only say positive.
I don't think she meant to say nothing.
Oh, go ahead, though. Question was, I don't need a man. Where do you feel like that thought process stems from, bro?
It's just a gumbo. I feel like it's just a gumbo. I mean, pretty much some of what everybody said, but to have my little own to it would be part of it would be men too, like the dads raising girls like, hey, I want to raise you correctly so that you don't have to depend on a man, because as a man, you know how ugly it is and how savage men can be. So you raise them to be able to do those things by themselves. And especially if you're a good man, you're going to want to spoil your daughter, and you want to provide all the things necessary, and then which doesn't really get her ready for the real world, because it's not going to be like that in the dating field. You know, a lot of times men will, try to shelter their daughters or, things like that, and don't let her really experience life like she should, which it works. It's a good thing, but then, it kind of hinders them in the long run. So I think we got to find that healthy balance and, showing them that, yes, you don't necessarily need a man, but, it would be great and beneficial if you had a solid one on your side or on your team. And so I just think we just got to change how we deliver the message, because women take things literal. Like I said before on the pod, like, women are black and white. They don't operate in the gray area. It's black and white. Men, we can kind of pivot. We can kind of find our way and see what's, in between what works for us. But women need it black and white.
All right, I like it.
All right, cool. I'm just asking something small. I think it's like you said, it's delivery. A lot of times when we explain how relationships should be, it's coming from a negative standpoint, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. I feel like if we can learn how to teach from a positive standpoint, then that will change how that thought process growing up as far as children wise. If it's always if you a mother, and every time you explain it to your son or your daughter about something is because of something that your dad or dad didn't do, then that's what you always gonna listen. But if you always gonna listen about. But if you go in it with the standpoint of saying that like we both was trying to figure it out and being honest about it, then I feel like growing up they would have a better understanding of how a relationship actually works, instead of just thinking that is always something negative about it.
Very good point, sir.
I like that. All right, man. We're going to take some time to pay some bills, and we're going to get right back into the conversation, man. I appreciate everybody for pulling up on us. Crusader Nation, the chat is booming as usual. Make sure that y'all tap that like button when y'all get a chance. First and foremost, man, Matthew Fireball, get your popcorn. Glad to see Ricky back. Facts over feelings. He gives it straight. No chaser, man. Appreciate you, Matthew. Marcus Fireball, what up, people? Congratulations on the 200K. Keep working and welcome back, brother Ricky. Appreciate you, bro. My boy Marcus says, keep Samantha. Salute to Sam. She definitely cooking tonight, man. I appreciate her being there. Ronnie, 20 ball. So I appreciate your channel, bro. That's love, gang. Appreciate you tapping in with us. Jason, 20 ball. So those of us who love women know what it's about. They don't want to follow directions outside of a job. Whether a woman is single or single with a child, they're still the person in charge without having to compromise. That is the thought process behind that mindset. I agree with that 100%, bro. Appreciate you. Dark Lake Revive says, oh no, there is no understanding of anything. Black women don't need black men. Keep that energy going. Let's see if it's true. Appreciate you, fam. Where we at? Sir Chi with the 2 ball. Samantha living off
Tyrese passport.
Boy, y'all ass is something different, boy. Rudy Powers didn't even have nothing to say, bro. Just show love. Appreciate you, gang. Congo with the 10 ball. Ricky Williams, yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro. Daryl with the 10 ball. Kayla with hard eyes. My boy loves of Kayla, but I appreciate you, big dog. Matthew with the 5 ball. What's the percentage of women y'all think were being beaten and cheated on back in the day, since a lot of women keep throwing that nonsense up?
If they even measured that. I don't even know if they gathered those data and statistics, right? Because you have to consider back then the rights that women had, right? The equality of the situation. So I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. Appreciate you, bro. Maz, 10 ball. Congrats on the 200K. We appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to keep on cooking, keep on grinding, man. Salute to the game. Rudy with the 20 ball. Says, Kayla, you're right. No one should stay in a toxic situation. But also, women leave a good man for trying to lead her the right way. But because she's so used to being on survival mode that it looks toxic to her, and it's not. Appreciate you, bro. The message, 10 ball. Kayla and many women talk about back in the day marriages as if men were savages. Women got beat back then and now. But to make that the only talking point when speaking on back in the day, come on. Appreciate it, man. Matthew, 2 ball. You should know the number. It's 1 in 3. That is the number. Quick research. I keep saying we got to hire a researcher, man. We're going to do it one day. The Black Intellectual with the 5 ball. Kayla and Sheba know black women are worshiping and staying in toxic relationships on purpose and then proceeding to have children from them. Stop the cap.
Some of them, but I didn't bring it up, so keep my name out of it.
Rodney with the 20 ball. Did we not see that woman and her baby daddy on Facebook Live? And women still find a way to blame him. Abuse goes both ways. Not all black men were abusive with the Mr. from Color Purple mentality. That's a classic, man. If y'all ain't seen that. I don't mean to laugh at that, but if you know about Color Purple, you know. Hold tight. I'm make sure I don't miss nobody, gang. Victor with the 10 ball. This isn't about needs. Women expect a man. Unfulfilled expectations create the mental pain and long-term emotional damage. Adults are responsible for managing their own. Appreciate you, big dog. I agree with that. Daryl, the 5 ball. Kayla wins again in all caps. Appreciate you, bro. Lucky in the building. What up, family? Just showing love, man. I appreciate you. Newtown with the 5 ball. Most domestic violence is reciprocal, meaning both participate. Highest amount of domestic violence occurs in lesbian relationships. Lowest in same-sex male relationships. Leave it to the chat. Them boys gonna come with the stats, man. Appreciate you, bro. Marcus, 10 ball. Very dope conversation on this topic, despite the goofiness. I agree with most of what everyone is saying. I also believe feminism is also part of the reason women say they don't need men. I agree with that too. Lisa with the 10 ball. Being a leader, a king, one must endure the good and the bad at all times for as long as it takes. We understand this in every aspect of life except modern relationships. Do men really want to be leaders? Appreciate you, Lisa. Hell of a question, man. We got to unpack that on next week's episode of Dragon Ball Z. But Real quick, man, we're gonna get back into the questions. We got 2 more left. We're making decent time, and I told y'all we're gonna try to get out of here at a decent time today. 2 more left, man. Appreciate y'all. Everybody tap that like button if y'all ain't tapped it yet. I mean, as y'all see, it's a hell of a conversation going on, man. Salute to Crusader Nation in the building. Next question is, are women today too independent? And if you feel that way, why? Are they too independent? And we're going to start with Sam.
I thought I was looking like I was thinking, so you would pick somebody else, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna come right to you when I feel like you look like you're thinking.
I'm thinking, okay, so I think that I think women, as we've discussed, things have absolutely changed. Women working and things of that nature. So because women are self-sufficient, are able to care for themselves, they can work without, they don't need to have a man in the household, so to speak, as far as to pay the bills and to take care of themselves. I think women do feel, to Kayla's point and to Queen's point, I think that they don't need a man. I do think that because of what we're seeing online again, and what social media and what society's also reinforcing, is making a lot of us feel like, okay, well, why do I really need a man? Like, if I could just get what I get from them and move on. But I think it is detrimental to what we're trying to do as far as trying to build healthy families, so that children have healthy 2-parent homes that they're going home to. So that's what I think. I hope that made sense, because that was just a jumble of thoughts.
I got you. Made a lot of sense. Ronan, do you feel like women are too independent today, in your opinion, or is there even a such thing?
My personal opinion, I think they're codependent on the negative narrative and fear under the guise of independence. Because when you look at the end of it, when all options run out, they need something, especially with how the system's structured. If that failed, that independence would fall to the wayside, like right now. So when you start hearing that stuff, it's to get this false narrative, like I got it under control, and really I don't. So this is why I'm a little bit turned off by the whole color purple narrative. But yeah, those things happen and whatnot. But again, it's like they believe external stuff can compensate for the internal brokenness. That's what I see. I don't know how to cooperate with an individual that I can trust to provide that covering, that safety, that direction. I want to be around people who will support my negative narratives, even though I'm out here fucking up like royally. At least I got people who support me while I'm at the bottom, instead of like working on healing and getting in the right position, or making the sound decisions outside of a toxic situation. So independent is really a farce, but interdependent, that's the goal you need to be. Learn how to pay yourself, be a sensible giver. Learn how to give of yourself, but pay yourself first. That's what I would say.
Like it. Ms. Kayla, do you feel like women are too independent, in your opinion? Or is there even a such thing?
Hopefully y'all can hear me good. Overall, that's a tough question to answer, because women that are independent are labeled too independent, but then the women that want the soft life and want a man to take care of everything, they're gold diggers and they don't bring that to the table. So I don't really know about too independent. I would say that more women are independent than ever before in history of humanity, and that's the only fact that I can really say in terms of too independent. I don't really think that, because I think that the women that do have good men in their lives that they can depend on, they depend on them for sure. So yeah, I mean, when we look at the numbers, it doesn't matter if every Black man today married a Black woman, there would still not be enough men for all the Black women. So some women are going to need to be independent. They're just going to need to be, unless they're going to divest. So Yeah, that's what I said.
All right. Nigel, you feel like women are too independent, or is there even a such thing?
I don't, it's a little bit of both, man. This is a tricky question. I think that women are learning the hard way about really what men want. And it's because a lot of times they don't really listen to the man per se. We can see that on Instagram all day. Men been telling women on Instagram all year what they want, and it's still like for some reason it's not triggering to them. It's like it's not what we want. It's not important enough. You know what I'm saying, for them to compromise. But like you said earlier, I think it was Trill said that no, it was OT, black and white. And so if they saying black and white and a man is not bringing what they feel like they should be bringing, then they feel like they don't need them at all. And that can work in some cases, but in most cases, the togetherness is stronger than apart. And I feel like that's where I think the mindset has to change as far as women's outlook on independence. It's okay to hold your own, but also learning them skills to be a helpmate. I think that's the most important part, learning how to be a helpmate, and also just being able to bring something other than the usual. I think that's the hard part. They don't see the value in nothing but that, and that starts within.
Well said. Mistaken. Do you feel like women in this era are too independent, or is there even a such thing?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I was trying to think about how to even answer. So go to the opposite. What would be the opposite of being too independent? Would be too dependent, like trying to understand that. And I think I've seen more women be too dependent than I have seen being too independent. So I guess maybe you talk about in the context of a relationship. Okay. Because I'm like, well, if you're by yourself, you can't be too independent. Like you have to take care of everything. But in the confines of a relationship, yeah, I do think at times women can don't know how to necessarily fall back sometimes. Like we want to be involved in everything or take the lead, or even, and I can even say that sometimes I'm guilty of this. I might ask my husband for help with something. He'll start doing it, but I'm looking and I'm like, you're not doing it right, and, stuff like that. So, he's like, well, why even ask for help? If you could do it, just go ahead and do it. So I do think sometimes that we can act too independent in a relationship. And that's because I think we don't necessarily know that balance of being independent and not overly dependent and having your husband think for you and, all of that kind of stuff versus not asking him for anything. So I guess, play both sides of the fence, I guess. I don't know if that's even a thing, being too independent.
I'm about to see that. So I got to go back to the drawing.
First time that ever got me.
Well, I say I'm gonna go back to the drawing. I'm gonna figure a way to push y'all on one side of the fence or the other. But y'all good though, man. I see y'all got media training. OT, in your opinion, do you feel like women in this era are too independent, or is there such thing?
No, they're not too independent. They just haven't had a man that they feel they can trust and just rest. Like you said, they tired. These women tired of carrying the load. They see what it's like right now to do everything by yourself, literally everything. And it takes a lot to handle that type of load. You know what I'm saying? Every single day, knowing, make sure your bills paid, make sure the lights on, make sure the kids fed or whoever, like, especially if you're the breadwinner, you got family members needing some money here and there that you sharing and things, you know what I'm saying? So it's constantly things are going on, people pulling at your pockets, people pulling at your coattail, all this stuff. And so it comes with time. It's okay, yeah, I think I do need a man, you know. So, but to say they too independent, no. I mean, they just in survival mode, you know. They like I know one of my homegirls who I used to work with, and I was wondering why she got a second job, and she had a good job. And she was just like, I just never want to go broke again. I never want to be in this position like my mama was in. I'm like, damn, like you like really working your ass off. But you know, she was single and she was able to do that. She wasn't dating, she didn't have a man. But I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna, you know, find a man if all you're doing is working. So, but due to the circumstances, you know, she didn't want to go back there. So no, it's not too independent. They just need to find that man. And you know, we gotta, as men, we gotta earn that respect back. You know, we just gotta start manning up. We gotta start treating these women right. And you know, I know it's a section of them that's just wilding out. But even as men, entertaining those women that we shouldn't be entertaining, spend no time with, we gotta let that shit go too. So all of it kind of just intertwining with each other. It's a messed up, tricky game. And yeah, until they find that one, yeah, she gonna try to hold on to their independence.
Yeah, I agree with that. Miss Queen, do you feel like women in this era are too independent, or is that even a thing?
I think it appears that way from the outside looking in, but I think when you really get to know women, they're just working hard. They're just grinding, working hard, really trying to make ends meet. I think things have escalated by way of the economy. Prices, homes have gone up, food has gone up, you know, cars, everything. It costs a lot to make a living in this world. And you can really not, I mean, it's hard to operate on one income nowadays, even if the man does have it. You know what I'm saying? It's helpful if she can contribute something. But no, I think she's just working really, really hard. You know, the opportunity affords her to be able to. And a lot of women are working more creatively now than they did in the past. Because in the past, it used to be a lot of domestic jobs only available for Black women. But a lot of them have been very blessed to be able to be creative with their skill sets, you know, by way of some of us sitting here. Some people, you know, they've been able to walk away from their full-time jobs and do what they love by way of YouTube or other, you know, ventures. I'm going to have to go with OT. Everything he said is correct. I think there's an opportunity for men to step up. I mean, you see a lot of men that have taken on the role of being a talk show host by way of YouTube. That used to be a woman's role. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not downing men that do that full time, but back in the day when you would see that historically, talk show hosts would be for women. They would do a lot of the talking and be awarded those roles. But now you see a lot of women doing the manual labor and getting out the house, and men being able to have some of the privilege roles, you know, with sitting in the air conditioner and having a cup of tea with ice and a lemon on the side and a straw. So
Queen is hilarious. I swear to God. SB, in your opinion, these women of today, are they too independent, or is there even a such thing?
I think that I'm not going to say they're too independent. I think they had to adjust to the consequences of the things or the decisions that they've made throughout their life. Sometimes when we make decisions, it doesn't turn out the way we expect them to, or, you know, there are no guarantees. So they actually have to adjust to the situation or adapt to the situation. So that would make them, it would have an appearance of being very independent. But they got to do what they got to do until they can do something different. So I'm not going to say too independent. Women have to adapt. They have to make sure things get done. You just don't want to get lost in all that independence. You don't want to get lost in it. But mostly, I would say it's based on our decisions that we made that put us in that situations. So, you know.
Yeah, I agree. SB, you actually stole my answer, man. I'll be honest. I feel like, yes, women are too independent, but again, it's by circumstance.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is in their control. A lot of it ain't. A lot of them grow up, like I said earlier, in households to which it was no male figure. So it's like, I'm programmed to be this way. And it's not necessarily out of fear. It's out of, this is all I know. It's kind of like a dude that grew up in a rough neighborhood. right? My daddy sold drugs, my uncle sold drugs, my cousin sold drugs, all my friends in the neighborhood sold drugs, right? So if I grow up in this environment, illegal activity is all I know. You say, well, why don't you go to school? I don't know nobody that went to school. Everybody around me is criminals. This is what I'm used to. This is what, and again, it's not saying that he can't go outside of the box and go try something new. What I'm saying is the environment and the circumstance plays a role on what you feel like is possible.
Mhm.
It affects the ceiling in your mind. And a lot of women are in circumstances, man, to where they don't see a successful relationship. Damn sure not in their household. In terms of a grown man in there handling business and taking the load off of his woman and taking care of his kids and going to work every day, being consistent, paying attention to detail, being thoughtful, and just treating his mother, talking to her mama nice. She don't see that. She see 3-4 dudes coming in and out the house, using the mama for this, that, and the third. She see the mama going to work 2-3 jobs, to where so much so to where she ain't even really raising her for real. That woman may have to step up at 10 years old and raise 2 siblings because her mama at work all day. These are the circumstances that a lot of women grow up in. So it's like you expect that woman to turn 24, 25 and flip a switch and be a feminine, laid back, you got it, you the man, here go the keys type of woman. It don't work like that. It's the same example I give as far as men. Men are raised to be snipers. We are programmed to be snipers. Our environment makes us snipers. We want to hit as many women as we can, the most attractive women we can, all our life. That's what we programmed to be. That's what we programmed to do. And then they expect us to turn 23, flip a switch, and be a one-woman domesticated man who's just dedicated about his business, take care of his family, ain't worried about the outside noise, no nothing. No, it's going to be a transition that has to take place. That's just what it is. So, again, it's the same thing for women. Circumstances, environments, and, things make you what you are. And fact is that it's made women too independent in this era. Now, there has to be a shift, and I agree with O on that aspect. Man, we got to step up in that regard, man. There got to be way less single mothers out here. We got to be way more careful with the type of women that we spend time with. Literally any time with, not just take serious. Because men, like, we can compartmentalize, but oftentimes that get us in trouble because we'll be reckless with the chick, even though we know good and damn well we wouldn't marry her or be with her. Then she had a baby, and it's like, nah, I don't want it. And she say, I do. And now you got another broken home. You see what I'm saying? So we got to hold our end as far as that's concerned. Even if you do create that, still take care of your kid. If she decide to have him, you put the ball in her hands, like I always say. You got control of that. You should have never been in the room with that girl anyway. You know it. Men, we talk. It's like Queen said earlier. We have council meetings. Okay? We know good and well which women. It's yeah, bro, I'm about to just slide, bro. It's 3:45, the club letting out. The one I want, she sleep. That's the wife material, the good girl. Yeah, she sleeps. She gotta get up from work. But Tanya up, man. I sent Tanya the hard eyes. She say, pull up. She said the gate code is 8131.
Oh my God.
Sign at the end. You know what I mean? Let's keep it G. So a lot of men will go over there and do that. And not only do that, but hit raw. So again, we as men, we got to stop doing that. Take your ass home and wait till the real woman you want to be with wake up, and then you go over there and do your thing. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times we put the ball in their court when it should never be there in the first place. So things got to change. But again, all of that combined has created women who are way too independent.
Sure. I have a question. Can you clarify what that looks like in the confines of a relationship? Because you said being too independent, like in a relationship. So what would being too independent look like in a relationship?
Meaning that I'm trying to think of how I can word it. You don't feel like you have a safety net. You move that way. When in reality, you should feel like, if you were a grown man, to where you have a safety net, to where, if I'm just not feeling it today, or if I want to take off 3 months or 6 months of work, or if I just run into some time, my man got me, and I feel comfortable in allowing him to get me. A lot of women don't feel that way. They feel like, or they move like, I don't want to say feel, but move like they don't have a safety net. They stepping on his toes. The check comes, she reaching for a purse. Even though, you know what I'm saying, that even though this man is working, he making good money, you see what I'm saying? Like, people asking, like, she feel like she got to make the final decision all the time. She challenging him for no reason over things that are irrelevant and petty, when she should just be sitting her ass in that passenger seat, put her feet on the dashboard, relax, and let that man drive the car. You understand? That's not saying that the man can't have the GPS sitting on the dashboard so you can see where we going, but I don't need you reaching for my steering wheel while you're in the passenger seat. That right there is you being too independent. And again, I understand it. You programmed to be that way. You've been that way all your life, but you done ran into a grown ass man. You don't have to be that way no more. Sit back, counsel me, give me some advice, baby. I got a question about this. You answer it, and you lay back in your femininity, lean that seat back, put your feet on the dashboard, and ride. Trust that man to drive. Fact is, most women don't trust the man to drive. They see this all the way up. They looking at the road. They looking at the GPS. They looking at him. They looking at the road, GPS, looking at him. I want to make sure that we get there.
Right way.
And that's the problem. Go ahead, Ron.
Also, I had micromanagement. When it comes to communication, they start stonewalling, selective hearing, outrage, use emotional terrorism tactics, things of that nature that show you that I don't trust him nor myself. I enter the relationship half in, half out. You know, my foot out the door. Always bringing what's going on the outside into the conversation, which basically undermines what your guy's doing. And if you don't respect that man, you can't say you love him in the same breath.
Well said. I agree with that. All right, we're gonna pay some bills. Then we're gonna get to the last question of the day, man. The theme, the thumbnail, in terms of creating space. But before we do, Marcus, the fireball. I find it ironic that no one talks about what the grandmothers do bad back in the day.
What they do?
Great point. Great point.
Overcooking.
That's a great point.
No, we do need to have that conversation. Everybody likes to do the extremes. We need to get to the meat of it if we're gonna do it.
I don't think
Granny did nothing wrong. What you talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna have to break that. That's the whole episode right there, guy. Appreciate you. That through the two, but I don't mean 1 in 3 women did the beat, or 1 in 3 men did the beating drill. Sure, but it does affect the psychology of the woman knowing those stats. Because fact is that damn the stats. Most women can think right when they hear abuse, they can think of a woman that they know close to them in close proximity that has happened to, if not themselves. Right. So again, having a healthy fear that it's natural. That'd be like, again, going to the hood and you read the news and say, hey, man, 1 in 3 people get shot. You're going to wear a bulletproof vest or you're going to stay away. But does that make you insecure? Should you be gullible enough to go there and say, you know what? I know what the stats say, but we ain't going to pay no attention to that, gang. I'm coming here to see family. I'm good. Are we going to unlock the doors? No vest, no nothing, no pistol. I'm outside. I don't care what. I don't care the stats say 1 in 3 dudes get shot. They're standing outside. I'm going to go stand outside anyway. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to take precautions, right? So again, women take those precautions mentally because 1, the stats are what they are. 2, women can name at least 2 to 3 women right off the top of their head that has happened to, and that's a problem. And we got to acknowledge that. That's all I'm saying. But appreciate it. The message with Tim Bar: with great power comes great responsibility. Ben Parker: women are on a different level in society in the modern era and are going through growing pains with this new power. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Appreciate you, bro. Priceless Faith, the 2-ball, just hopped in. I love to be Crew Caesar's researcher. Look, man, we're going to tap in with O, and we're going to see if we can get your application. Either tap in with O or Kenny, and we're going to see which one.
Background checks, everything.
I appreciate you, though. Marcus, 2-ball, to the question, yes. I agree. Appreciate you, bro. Rick, the fireball, shout out to Ronan. Who would you be if you didn't hold on to your negative narrative? It happened in real time and no one sees it. Have a great night, crew. Appreciate you, Rick. Priceless Faith, the fireball. Yes, some of us chose wrong the first time as we were unwise. And there's that stance on letting go because of wrong choices, consequences. So solo equals less pain. Facts. That is literally the thought process. Appreciate you. Michael, the 10-ball, need more men knowledgeable about facts and generalization. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't. Stop letting Queen Sheba control the panel. Men would like to see Crimson Cure, Melanie King on with Sheba and Kayla.
They have their own channels. Go over there anytime you get ready.
They trying to see a cat fight with y'all.
Right? They love drama. That's what I'm saying. Men love drama. They just as messy.
That's crazy. Miss Roy with the fireball. How's she supposed to take care of herself before you come along? Or if anything happened that you couldn't provide? A strong king needs a strong queen. Great point. I agree with that. The message, the fireball. Women are literally in a new phase in history. This is still new. Becoming independent was expected with all they have gained. That's very true. Marcus, the fireball. Does independence and survival mode go hand in hand? Not necessarily, but oftentimes they are associated with each other. But I mean, just because somebody independent doesn't mean that they're in survival mode. Again, that just may be their way of life, the way that they was raised, the way that they've always been, the way that they programmed to be. Doesn't mean it necessarily came from trauma, but it's just this is just how I am. This is how I was raised to be. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't necessarily just automatically chalk it to survival mode, but oftentimes they are linked. I got to acknowledge that. Congo, the 15 ball OT. I agree. Hello, Miss Taken. Hope all is well. SB, Godspeed. Ron and Trill. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, big dog. It's family right there. Appreciate it. Michael with the fireball. Feminist debate real women with the same topics. Trill, Crimson Cure, Melanie King, Queen Sheba, Caleb B. Taylor would be great. Fact against extremes. That we wouldn't get through one question if I had all them on panel together. We wouldn't get through one. I'll just be real. But it would be entertaining for sure. Mila with the 2-bar. Men dropping seeds and not rings. And mad women are independent.
Y'all
point. Tech mobility with the 10-bar. We got to stop with the black man, boogie man narrative. When there are nations of other races where women can't even show their face. Where are your allies, ladies? Not all of us, but most of us. Appreciate you. Big Mel in the building. 20 bars. Just tapped in. What's good, family? What up, G? Appreciate you. All right. We're gonna get into the last question of the night, man. The topic we discussing is how can this type of woman that we've been discussing all episode long create space for her man? How can she take her foot off of that gas and just tap the brakes just a little bit? Or do y'all feel like she should? We're gonna start with Queen first. What does creating space for a man look like? For a woman that's used to being independent, a woman that's a go-getter, what does that look like?
Creating space for a man. If a woman's accustomed to doing everything herself, what does it mean, creating space? I'm going to start with psychological safety for him to be able to come in. First of all, for him to feel safe. It's like, what's the name of that thing? Like this double dutch where he's trying to, is this the right time? A psychological safe place for him to even approach the thought of coming in. Not even coming in, approach the thought of coming in. That's the first thing. And then welcoming him in, having an open heart to be able to receive. I hear an echo. Preparing your heart as a wife for him to be able to come in. Does that make sense? Because there's certain vibes and energy that we have to give off for a man a man just can't come in, right? Because he weighs his options as well. He weighs his heart. He weighs his time, his finances, and his energy. So I think a little bit of all of that. And understanding what a man is, his role. A lot of women don't know, to be honest with you. And I think that's why a lot of women are defensive. And that's why I say stay curious and have conversations with women that you date. Ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions from women. You'll learn a lot. It doesn't mean that she's not a good person. She may be undeveloped by way of being a wife. And if you have the time and the energy to pour into her, and you feel like you want to put in that work, then there you have it. So that's my thoughts.
I like it. SB, what is creating space for that man to come in and be a man? What does that look like?
So I definitely hope we definitely get married, right? This is a married woman, correct? So once she's said yes to those vows, she's allowing him to have his plan for their life. She's saying that she no longer has to be in control. I'm submitting to my new man, and I'm just giving him space and time to take over the situation and show me that he can definitely care for me. It's not easy. It won't be easy because she's used to doing everything on her own, but just having enough kindness and patience with him to do his plan, walk it out, and still be a good woman to him, not be angry, not have to do it her way all the time. Just allowing him to be that man, allow him to be that leader. But I hope he would have demonstrated this prior to marriage. So she would have known exactly what the plan looked like and knew what she was had to do once she said, I do. I'm hoping it's just not something that comes about afterwards, because it won't be easy. If you used to paying all your bills late or whatever, and he's like, no, and now you got to make all these major sacrifices, I can imagine that would be hard to do. So allowing him that space is just allowing him to walk out his plan for our life and her submitting to it.
I like that. Nigel, what is a woman creating space for that good man to come in her life? What does that look like?
That look like a woman that understands her man, for one, that's willing to put in the effort to understand him, to know what his vision is, understanding how he's moving and if he's moving in the right direction. And also, I think just having a mindset of being a helping hand behind whatever he got going on. I think that's because I feel like that's what a man looks for. And if he's feeling that, I think he would be more willing to put you in a position where you can be able to, continually open, yourself up to him. And I think that's what it stands for the most part. Just giving each other a safe space to be able to be, yourself. You know what I'm saying? If I'm able to be myself around you and you able to be yourself around me, then we'll both be more motivated to help each other out and whatever we're lacking in. But if we both feel one-sided, or I don't feel protected in this way and you don't feel protected in that way, then it's always going to be conflict. And it's always going to be a what if, or one, halfway in, halfway out. And there's no healthy relationship that's going to come from that.
Well said. I agree. Miss Kayla, what does creating space for that man looks like, man? To that strong woman, that independent woman. What does that look like?
Yeah, so for me, I would say like to create a space for him to be needed, because you may already have a schedule and the way that you do things, and certain people that take care of certain things. And I think that you should create space for him to take care of some certain things more and more as time goes on and as you gain more trust. But I definitely think you've got to create a space for him to be needed. And I think that's sometimes difficult, releasing that control or releasing something, like when you ask like your kid to do something and then they do it and then you'd be like, oh, I could have just did this myself. So you have to get comfortable with allowing them to have the space to do that, because the way that they do it also may not be the way that you're used to it being done. So that's another adjustment, because he may be doing it now. You may be like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So it's a lot of different adjustments. But I think as long as you make space for him to be needed and to actually fulfill those needs in your life, I think it will grow as you gain more trust with him and as he proves out that he can take care of it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Ronan, what does that look like, man? As a man, what is that creating that space for us to come in there and be the man we need to be? What does that look like?
Understanding the responsibilities and the requirements of what you're asking for. A man moves different. He speaks different. He's built different. You got to give him room to operate, because him choosing you, that's a part of his reputation and his word. Give him room to manifest those things in real time. If he's slacking a little bit, this is where you start reminding him, what his commitment was to, not in a nagging way, but a reassuring way. Giving him room is to see how he deals with how to court with the better side of yourself, helping you to divorce your negative narrative, because that's uncharted territory for most women. So if he's considering you in your life, he sees what you have as far as like your abilities, your skills, your gifts. He's not going to leave you stranded, given life, be it he taken away voluntarily, involuntarily. And the other part of it is like giving you the room to be an active listener. Not listen to respond, but listen to receive and rebuild. So when it comes to these conversations, this is where you start having those uncomfortable conversations. You feel safe to speak on things without going into trauma mode. You actually be able to address things in an adult manner and not go by what other people have gone through, but you guys can chart a new territory for yourselves and each other. That way you're getting that level of confidence, not just within each other, but yourself, which is what men want to see. And do understand the price of peace is expensive. So give him room to recover, to rebuild, to get that creative recharge. Because if you grant him that access to that, you'll see a better part of that man that very few women have access to.
It's facts. It's facts. Sam, what does that look like? Creating space for that good man. Come in there and be the man he need to be.
I think that one thing that you said, Ronan, that I totally agree with, and I was going to say was, I think that a lot of women, especially women that I work with, they come in or they're very defensive and they don't create a safe space for someone to really share how they're feeling. They feel like, okay, well, I'd rather just keep this to myself, that this is going to turn into World War III. And so a man doesn't allow him to really feel like he's has a listening audience. He's just having somebody that's listened to argue with him, and then B, a support system. And so I think that we have to watch how we allow ourselves to listen to a man and how we respond to it and how we speak into him, speaking life into him. I think a lot of women today that I've spoken to or I hear speaking to men, they can be very degrading to the men that they're with, not just a man, a random guy. And so it's like when you are not supporting, when you are like tearing down the man that you are supposed to be building up, why would he want to open up to you? You don't feel like a teammate, you feel like the enemy. And so I think that we just have to be mindful of how we communicate and our body language, all of the above.
Definitely agree with that. Go ahead, Ronan.
Oh, it's real quick. I want to say we gotta stop practicing relationship time card fraud. And what I mean by that is like we often treat our spouse as a job where we clock in, we're there for attendance half the time, but then we're sitting there bullshitting the whole time. We're not putting in the real work with each other. At the job, you're doing that to get paid. When we're talking about we clock in as far as the family, we're building each other up in legacy because we get our ass kicked in the world mutually. So this is where we sit there and heal up and turn our house into a home.
I say it. Mistaken. Creating that space. What does that look like?
So I had that question and you wouldn't answer it. But the more I think about it, the reason I was confused is because I think a part of the courting is to see that he would see where he would fit, where he can contribute and add to, my life, and vice versa. He chose me because of attributes that he saw in me that space could be filled. So that's why I had that question, because I don't necessarily think that a woman necessarily have to create a space versus a man seeing the gaps where he can actually identify and fill. So that was where my confusion was with that, because that's kind of what happened with me. I had some areas in which he saw that he can build me up in. And so it wasn't necessarily a space I had to create. He identified it and went in. And then vice versa. For me, he saw things in me that could be a benefit for him. So the space was already there for me to fit. So that was where my confusion was. But as our relationship progressed, I can definitely say there were other areas that I guess we didn't pick up in that phase where more space was created for other areas in which both of us needed to fill, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that definitely does. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question that I couldn't answer before we started streaming, I think it's that again, I mean, sure, we as men a lot of times, like if there's a need, then we'll step in and take care of it. But a lot of women are good at masking the needs because they so used to, like I said, just not having help. So it's just instinct, it's muscle memory to do it on their own, right? So as a man walking into that, it's like you begin to get a bit confused, and then your mind goes left. You start thinking the wrong thing. It's like, damn, well, like what am I doing here? Like what does she need me for?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like every time I try to help, no, I got it. Oh, well, baby, you sure I got? I got it. So it's like, as a man, if you hear I got it enough, you just like, well,
Fall back.
I'm gonna fall back. Like, what am I doing here? You see what I'm saying? And then that's gonna cause the woman to feel like, oh, well, he getting a little distant, or he may not be as invested in this as I am. So now you go back into your defense mechanism, like I ain't trying to get hurt or whatever. So I'm gonna fall back, or I'm gonna get it even. I'm gonna tighten the reins up even more. Put that barbed wire fence back up where I had it before you got here, and then it just causes just a miscommunication on a grand scale. But I think, as women, and again, I understand it's hard to break programming. I mean, I'm a man. I get it, but it has to happen. It has to, or you're gonna be single forever. That's just reality. Go ahead, Sam.
Good way to mitigate.
Huh, Kayla?
I was just gonna say, I think a good way to mitigate that, as I've seen, is men who take the initiative and like just take care of things versus always waiting for me to tell you what needs to be done. Like if you can see what needs to be done, just do it. And when I show up, it's already done. And I'm like, oh, thanks, babe. Versus like, babe, what else can I do? It's like you're still looking to me for instruction. And so sometimes that can be like exhausting. So I do think that men that take the initiative get better results.
But you know what the other side of that is? Is facing resistance when you try to step in, right? It's just like giving somebody a compliment who doesn't take compliments well. Eventually, you give enough compliments and you go, no, I'm not. I'm ugly. I'm overweight. I'm this. I'm that. Damn, every time I compliment you, you got to self-deprecate right on the back end. Eventually, I'm going to stop giving compliments because I don't like that awkward energy. And with a lot of independent women, that's the case. You try to step up and do that. Well, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to. Why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. So you hear that enough, and it's like, well, damn, do she really not want me to, like every time? So again, it sends mixed messages, and we ain't trying to step on no toes. We ain't trying to argue with you. Mm-hmm. We just want to take care of your ass. But again, you gotta meet us halfway.
And I think too, sometimes men just don't know, like they don't see, because they don't see things the same way.
Clueless.
Women do. And so with that, sometimes, I ain't gonna say sometimes, many times, you do have to direct certain things because their minds are just totally different. Like I could be in a house and my husband will literally just step over something over and over again. And I'm sitting there waiting, like, eventually he gonna see it, he gonna pick it up. Like I'll try to wait it out, and he always wins because it's a situation where he literally just, I don't know if it doesn't bother him or he just literally doesn't see it, because there are times I'm like, you don't see that? And he was like, no. So in certain situations, I just know that instruction, like to ask them to take the initiative on something that they may not even recognize, I'll just rather tell them and do it as opposed to waiting for them to take the initiative and then it doesn't get done. And now I'm upset.
Yep.
Now I'm mad.
No, with all due respect, mistaken, we're shitty mind readers. That's the secret is out. We don't have that mental telepathy where I have to feel your emotions either you say something or it's just like you're yelling now. What the fuck? Just tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And
Go
they
ahead,
do
Sam.
it every time. They will pick it. All you gotta do is say, "Picked it up, babe." Okay, but just having the thought to do it himself, he may not have it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, agreed. I was just gonna say that in addition to what it like to, I meant to say this when I was talking, but mistaken, you reminded me of what I was going to say, was that we also have to leave space. I think Kayla said it, and I think a lot of us have kind of reiterated that, but we want somebody to come in and like magically know where they fit in, but that's not realistic. We have to communicate our expectations. Uncommunicated expectations, we're breaking our own hearts by doing that. And so I think that it's one thing, we got to be better communicators. A lot of us operate in our ego and our pride. Like, I don't want to have to tell you because I don't want to have to ask. I want you to just know because I don't want to say I need it, but I do need it, but I don't want to say that I need it. It's like, it's pride. It's a pride thing as well, that I know I struggle with as well. So it's like being open to a man's presence and leadership, because I know I'm indecisive. I need a man because I'm the most indecisive person I know. But number two, being able to communicate and not operate in a state of like pride and not wanting to ask for help when we actually do.
And we gotta know the difference between talking to each other rather than at each other. And
Right.
people tend to forget that.
That reminds me of like younger. I guess it's, we watch too much TV, but like in our younger part of dating, getting in an argument, to try to like, you know, like I'm gonna walk out, but I really want him to grab me back.
That toxic stuff
Like,
right there.
come here,
Right?
like, don't leave. Come here.
I go to the
He'd be
garage.
mad.
Bacon. I go to
You
the
really let
garage
me leave? You goddamn right.
be
You
like,
walked out.
where he can
looking
see me on camera.
looking over my shoulder like, damn, he ain't coming.
Dramatic
Then back
exit.
around like,
And don't get
He'll come back.
like you didn't get that grab me back energy.
Get the game cut on.
I say, you know, they remind me of Martin when Gina was walking out. He say, you can step. She started walking towards the door. He ran and grabbed. Whoa. That's real though. But your thoughts on this, big dog? What should a woman creating space for a man look like, bro? Are you a solid one walking in there?
Man, first off, I think a woman, especially if you're choosing that man, we're talking about relationship, marriage, you know, things that serious. If you've chosen that man, you have to let him be him. Let him have the operation and let him have the space to just like y'all like the rest of y'all femininity. That's let me thrive in my masculinity. Having you over my shoulder all the time, trying to correct me, or you know, let's say we having a conversation and you're not listening to what I'm saying, like that kind of shrinks the space that you could have created. You know what I'm saying? Like if sometimes when we're saying things, we may not communicate it the best way. We may, you know, put a wrong word in front of the other, or maybe a little bit too direct. But a lot of men are just passionate, especially when we love y'all. So just let us be us a lot of times, you know, because with women, you know, we allow y'all to cry and, you know, we having an argument and getting into it. You can express yourself different ways. But if I have my way of expressing it, then, you know, now we arguing about something that ain't got to do with what I'm trying to express. Yeah. So let us be us. And the more you accept us for who we are, all the weird stuff, like I think that'll help you in the end have more space, because now we feel we can trust y'all and, you know, we can, you know, just be more comfortable instead of being so reserved. And, you know, I'm not going to tell baby this because I know she going to flip out, or I'm not going to get no sex for the next week if I open my mouth, you know what I'm saying? Instead of us, you know, just communicating. But then on the other end, men, regardless, if you got something that's on your mind, that's on your heart, something that needs to be corrected by her, just say it. If that woman is riding for you, she will understand. She may be upset in that moment. She may need to sleep on it, whatever. But the next day, she's going to be like, you know what? You're right, babe. I'm sorry. I'm going to do this better or that better, or I'm going to think about something like that. But as men, we got to stop being so afraid to communicate our feelings. So women on the receiving end, let us have that space. But men, we also have to create our space ourselves and create that boundary like, yo, you know, this is what it is.
Well said, my boy. I agree. I think in order for a woman to create space, first and foremost, man, she got to trust in her decision making. A lot of women don't have a lot of faith in their decision making, and that's why they so quick to jump in and try to correct things. Right? If you had trust in your decision making, you chose this man.
Right.
Walked down the aisle with this man. Took vows in front of God with this man.
Mhm.
So it's like if you're willing to do all of that, why is it so hard for you to just let him lead? If you trust in your decision making. But a lot of women don't. And I feel like that's the problem. Now, the reason, myriad of reasons, that's a whole nother episode. But I think those need to be sorted out so you can be more capable of, just sitting back and letting that man do what he does. And, another thing is learning what that man does. I think a lot of women don't understand a grown man's innate nature. Our innate nature is to take care of you, regardless of how independent you are, regardless of how much money you're making, regardless of how many cars you got, how big your house is, all of that, the nice clothes, the Birkin bag, whatever, none of that matter. That man's urge walking in there is still to take care of you. You are my woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are on a pedestal in my eyes. So if you go out of your way to remove the space for him to do that, then he begins to question things. One thing about men is that we are already slow. So you don't want us to have to question things in regard to what I'm saying? Just like Brodem saying, no, tell us directly. We don't read minds. That's a fact. Because if you don't tell us directly, then we're not gonna put it high on the priority list. It ain't gonna be a lot of urgency behind it. It's gonna be, all right, I get around to it. Right. But instead of reading what you really meant and being able to, okay, well, she's saying it this way, so I might need to put a little urgency on that. Most men are not that emotionally in tune with women to be able to grasp those things, right? So you got to put it in simple terms for us. Put it in dummy terms. But again, man, creating that space, man, it's gonna take you to just take the time to understand what our innate nature is, man, and that's to take care of you. We want to take care of you, and if we can't do that, then we start to question our worth as a man. And that's when you have us going outside and expressing that in extremely unproductive ways. Again, I can list them, but that's another conversation. So as women, y'all gotta do that. And I understand it's it's hard. I understand change is and things that are unfamiliar is kind of jarring, especially when it's in regard to your livelihood. But you chose that man for a reason. You married that man for a reason. Let him be the man you chose. Simple as that. But a lot of women don't do that, and that crashes their relationships. And again, I don't think it's malicious. I think it's just them trying to break programming, years of programming, to where they just feel like, I mean, I know I got you here, but it's instinct, it's muscle memory for me to just lead, for me to make the final decision, for me to just jump in and take care of it. But when you got a grown man, you shouldn't have to do those things. You just shouldn't. Now, that's not saying you shouldn't have no input in how the household is ran, sure, but all heavy decision making and big decisions should go through your man. And if they can't, you chose wrong. Simple and plain. Again, man, I told y'all we wasn't gonna stay on for too long tonight, man. 2.5. I'm almost there. We still got some super chats to read, man. But I appreciate everybody for pulling up, kicking it with us, man. It's been a hell of a conversation. And again, panelists, y'all know it's love. We're gonna read these super chats. Give our closing remarks, closing shout outs, things y'all want to shout out, maybe events coming, channels coming, live streams coming, and then we're gonna get the hell up out of here, man. But before we do, Victor with the 10 ball. Will we prefer Miss quote unquote too independent, go too dependent with two dependents? Trio nailed it. Now she got new dependents, and you a child support dependent. That was a damn fool, man. Appreciate you, bro. That is hilarious. Shout out to my dog Victor, man. Michael, the 10 ball. Let's keep conversations on level ground. Top 30% of black women and black men. They love talking about the worst of black men. Why these groups are not having families? Stop letting the women do this, Trill. Ah, man. Y'all boys just refuse to. I ain't gonna do it tonight. Appreciate you though, bro. But as far as keeping the conversation on level ground, I mean, it always is. People got their perspectives, bro. That's the whole reason that they on the platform. They're speaking according to what their perspective is. If we all agreed, then what the hell is the point of us gathering here to discuss anything? We all on the same. It's gonna be an echo chamber. We asking questions. Somebody speaks. Everybody, yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. How entertaining of a show would that be, fam? So that's just my take. Appreciate you though. Taleo with the 20 ball. Just showing love, man, and loving the topic tonight. I appreciate you for tapping in with us, man. It's love. Thank you so much. The message, the fireball. Kayla is right, but I'll add that she understands what peace is to him. That's how she creates it, to sum it up. Peace really is the key for a man. That's a fact. That is a fact. Appreciate it. Marcus 2-ball. Great answer, Ronan. It's love, bro. Big Mill with the 50 piece. My boy. That's love, big dog. We definitely appreciate you. Like I said, I haven't caught a live show in a couple of days. Still gonna support the show. Always, bro. You always show love, man. Thank you. Marcus, the 5-ball Ronan, when you write your damn book, it better be a bestseller. I agree, man. Rhoda need to get started on that. He playing. Matthew with the 2-ball. Samantha is good for the show. Great points. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Definitely held her own up here this evening. I appreciate her. Prices, the 5-ball. It means caring about him and his needs. For me, when man prays, shows care with actions, lead the way. Then I pray, encourage, and give time and space. P.S. Send an email. All right, bet. I'm gonna check it. Tech with the 10-ball. Woman can create space by understanding her gaps and then allowing the right man to fill in those gaps. Many women are a bit delusional about their gaps, or what their gaps are, so they typically don't create that space.
Yeah.
Hell of a point. I agree. Marcus 2-ball. Very well said. OT. Appreciate you. Prices again with the 5-ball. We are supposed to grow together in relationships, solve problems with love. This is why weekly check-ins, meetings should be a norm. Protect your union. I agree with that. 100%. Danielle with the 20 ball. Say love this platform, man. Thank you so much, man. We definitely appreciate you. That's love. Eli, the 5-ball. Ask that man how he wants to lead. I think it's an assumption that all men lead the same way. That's very true. That's very true. Different men have different styles. Marcus, the 5-ball. Dope conversation today. Samantha, please stay. You were very dope today. Too many extremes. Good night. That's love, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Samantha, Marcus does pay now. He shows up every week.
Good to know. Thanks, Marcus.
You're gonna get every $2 of that dollar.
Don't do my boy like that. Salute to Marcus, man. Appreciate you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Tech again with the 5-ball. It's really physics. In order to create space, you have to remove some things. That baggage, masculine ideology, got to go in order to create space. I agree with that 100%. I think that's all of them. Make sure that I don't miss nobody, man. Thank everybody that donated tonight, man. It's been a hell of a stream, like I figured it would be. And that's thanks to these amazing panelists that I have up here. Thank each and every one of y'all taking y'all time. Told y'all that I'd be cognizant of y'all time this evening. We're gonna wrap this thing up at an early time frame. So I'm satisfied with that for sure. Crusader Nation, man. Thank y'all for coming out. Love, man. Everybody that tapped in, all the Mars, JC, the Sousa, Animators in the building. Appreciate it. And before we go, y'all have anything to shout out, any last words, things of that nature? Go ahead, Rona.
I want to say shout out to my brother Sheep Stay Sleep, representing FMP Nation. Definitely check out Crew and A podcast. I mean, really, just it's good to hear from the people. A great dose of reality most times, and yeah, it's just good to hear like the pulse of the people. It's very educational.
That's facts, man. That's every Friday at 9. I'm trying to squeeze that time up a bit, but it depends on what the boys' schedule is. But yeah, it's a Crew and A, man. For everybody that got questions for us, I know that Instagram be booming with questions every single day. TikTok be booming with questions, so that is the time, man. Y'all pull up, ask whatever y'all want to ask. If y'all want to come on stage, pop out, come on stage. And when we're gonna top it up, man. Y'all seen what the last one was like. If y'all hadn't, go ahead and check that out so you can get a feel for the vibe, man. We look forward to hearing from y'all, and I'll answer whatever y'all got. So appreciate y'all. Anybody else got any announcements?
Yeah, I just want to say to Samantha and Mistaken, I'm just glad that you guys were here tonight. Y'all had some interesting and good points. Thank y'all.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. It's great to meet you. Have fun.
Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, guys.
Nice love, man. Thank y'all. And again, follow all these amazing panelists on their platforms, man. Mars, make sure y'all posting them. I know y'all been doing a hell of a job of it all night, but I just want to make sure that we get it one more time before we get up out of here, man. Make sure that y'all following them on their platforms. Clearly, they are very, very dope individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So thank y'all, man. You got anything before we get up out of here, gang?
No, man. But y'all can follow me on IG. I just got my Apple Watch, so I'm about to start some challenges on there. So y'all boys be ready. Hey, boys in trouble now. I'm posting every day.
Hey, I'm gonna talk to you about that.
Right. Yeah. Bet. Yeah, y'all hit me up on IG. I'm gonna add y'all to the group. You know what I'm saying? You know, to just have some fun with it.
That's facts, man. Y'all heard the man. Marcus the Fireball, thank you for gaslighting Shiva.
Whoa.
Hey, he harasses me on every panel that I'm on. He doesn't do it here, so I got my lick back.
It's love. Appreciate it, Marcus. Kitty T say better ask with super chats on Friday if y'all want the questions. That boy is a fool, man. Appreciate it though, man. Again, hell of a stream. We're gonna be back at this thing again every Wednesday. Y'all know what time it is, 9:30-ish. You know what I'm saying? See y'all next Wednesday, man. It's love. I thank everybody for coming out, tapping in with us, man. Until next time, y'all be safe. Take care of each other. Get to your bag and stay out the way, man. Appreciate it. Y'all.